greatest city in the world. On the eve of a weekend, which will remember attacks against our city, attacks that left this city battered, but it has recovered. We remember 9/11, but we'll never forget. At Citi Field in New York, Pix 11 Sports presents New York Mets baseball tonight. The Mets play the Chicago Cubs. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets open a 3-game weekend series against the Chicago Cubs. The Mets fighting for 500 this year. They're 3 games under after being swept in a doubleheader yesterday by the Atlanta Braves. The Cubs, on the other hand, they've got no chance of getting to break even. It's been another lost season for a team that hasn't won a World Series since 1908. However, there is hope on the horizon for Chicago, if only in the form of their middle infield. 2 young players who have had a very good year, and Keith, Darwin Barney and Starlin Castro are something that the Cubs can build around.
Well, it's been a tough year for the Cubs yet again. It's always about their pitching and defense, but these 2 young kids, and Starlin Castro is only 21 years old. In his rookie campaign last year hit 300. This year hitting over 300 again, 182 hits. He leads the National League in hits. He's a fine glove. He's made a lot of errors at shortstop. He's a young player, 26 errors. This is a Cub team that leads the National League in errors. He's one of the reasons, but he's a flashy glove. He's got a great future, great offensive player. And at second base, the kid from Oregon, a 25-year-old Darwin Barney, who I really like. He's kind of out of the mold of a Wally Backman. He does the little things. He's hard to strike out. Good defensive glove. He can run. The one take back on these guys is that they don't walk. They have low on-base percentages. They're free swingers. But these are 2 guys who are the future of the Cubs.
On the mound tonight for the Mets is Mike Pelfrey. It's been a disappointing year for Mike, but this is a club he has thrived against, maybe because they're always so aggressive.
Well, he has 50 wins in his career, 7 this year, but in his career he has been great against Chicago Cubs. He's never lost to him, 2-0 with a 0.66 ERA. And he's going up against Casey Coleman, who comes really from baseball royalty. His grandfather Joe and his father Joe, both all-star pitchers, but he's had a tough go of it so far this year. 2-7, a 6.5 ERA, and has really struggled with his walks per innings pitch.
And as you see there, the Mets beat him up the one time they faced Coleman, knocked them out in the 2nd inning back in May. Mets and Cubs, all the action coming up tonight from Citi Field right here on Pix 11. Toyota. Toyota is the #1 retail brand in America. Reassurance only better. Buy Dunkin' Donuts to get dunked. Go to getdunked.com. By Lincoln, it's not just luxury, it's smarter than that. By Time Warner Cable, Roadrunner Broadband. By Cadillac, visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. And by Bank of America. This Sunday, September 11th, the Mets will hold a special pregame ceremony at Citi Field to remember those we lost on 9/11. The remembrance ceremony will begin at 7:30 p.m. prior to the game between the Mets and the Cubs. Who's Hot brought to you by Wendy's. Carlos Beltran, after a slow start with the Giants, has picked it up. Is it too late? Giants now 7.5 behind Arizona. Speaking of the Diamondbacks, Ian Kennedy now 19-4 after going 7 strong innings to beat the Padres 4-1 yesterday. And Cliff Lee, 6 shutouts on the year, and in his last 6 starts has been almost untouchable. His second streak like this year. Mike Pelfrey, dreaming of being that untouchable. Perhaps it'll happen tonight. He's facing the Cubs. It's 2-0 lifetime against Chicago. First pitch coming right up. Where winners eat. Starting line for the Cubs brought to you by Lincoln. It's not just luxury, it's smarter than that. Starlin Castro has been batting leadoff just about every day since Kosuke Fukudome was traded to Cleveland. Aramis Ramirez couldn't hit a lick the first 2 months of the season. He's tearing it up. He's going to be a free agent if the Cubs don't pick up his option. It's a Cubs team that is in the middle of the pack in offense in the National League. Mike Quade, the manager, uncertain along with the rest of the Cubs because they fired their general manager Jim Hendry, and they don't know who's going to be at the helm next year.
You know, when Lou Piniella retired last year, he did a great job. You see that record, 24-13 last season, but it has not translated this year. And Big Pelf getting the start on the mound today. 50 wins in his career, 7 this season. This is his 4th consecutive year of 30 or more starts for Mike Pelfrey.
And we'll take a look at the Toyota Metropolitan defense. Totally behind the plate. Duda out in right. Pagan out in center. And we're going to highlight Mr. Tolley, 9th game with Pelfrey. They've worked well together. So we'll see how that pans out tonight. Reyes and Wright are back in the line. Coming off the doubleheader sweep, the Mets looking to get back on the win track.
We've got a traffic jam here at the ballpark. The home plate meeting has been going on for, I don't know, about 8 minutes now. And the Mets took the field, and the umpires and Terry Collins and Ivan DeJesus carrying the lineup card for Mike Quade, all standing at home plate. That young man got to be a part of it. And
somebody came out and threw a first pitch while they were standing there conducting the home plate meeting, and Pelf is just now getting his warm-up tosses in.
Well, the young guy, Mickey, wanted to know if the orange line in left field, if it goes over it, it's a home run, or if it hits it, is it back in play?
Well, I think he's probably got every ground rule memorized now. Take that back to school with him. Your keys to the game brought to you by Cadillac. Visit Cadillac.com to find a dealer near you.
Well, avoid deep counts, of course. Pelfrey has gone to 100 pitches in less than 5 innings 5 times this year. Reyes has been hot as far as having a hit streak, but his average has dropped. Startling. And Starlin Castro off the base paths. He's got 20 stolen bases and been caught 6 times this season.
You know, Pelfrey in his last start in Washington went 4 2/3, and we talked about it over the last inning or so that he was in the game, and he talked about it after the game. He was gassed. He threw 106 pitches in those 4 2/3, and he said he was out of gas. He was tired. Now, here he is coming back 5 days later, and I wonder, Ronnie, at this point in the season, if you were going to be that gassed in one start, whether that's going to carry over.
Well, I will say this. At this point in his career, there should not be getting gassed at your 29th start. You know, I don't want to be cruel or unkind, but, you know, at this point in his career, really September, as the weather drops like 10 degrees, you honestly start to pick it up.
Well, the gas prices are, you see them at the pump, they're expensive.
So Pelfrey's set to go. Starlin Castro stepping in for Chicago. Castro leading the National League in base hits with 182, just 21 years old, hitting at .305. And Pelfrey starts tonight, and Castro fouls it off, and that's about how it goes with the Cubs. They do not stand around and watch. Other than Carlos Pena, they go up there hacking.
You know, the caveat to Pelfrey, Gary, to get back to my comment, is that the one thing about that game in Washington, it almost looked like he was maxing out on every pitch, trying to break the radar gun, was throwing harder than he's probably thrown all season long.
And gave up an enormous number of foul balls in that game. And that's something that Terry Collins was talking about today. You know, he said, look, Mike's stuff is good because guys are not squaring it up. They're fouling it off. Of course, the problem is too many foul balls. You get 9 and 10 pitch at bats. It's hard to get deep into a game.
I like the way Castro chews gum in the middle of his swing. Check it out, folks.
Multitasking.
Oh, jeez. How do you focus?
Well, at times focus has been an issue for Castro, but not necessarily at the plate. Pelfrey ahead of him 0-2. And he misses low and inside. A ball and 2 strikes.
He blows bubbles when the pitcher's in his lineup.
Wow.
You blew a bubble.
So you see the hit leaders in the National League. Castro well ahead.
Well, Castro doesn't walk. 26 walks on the year. The Cubs are ranked 10th in the National League in on-base percentage.
And tied for the fewest walks in the league as Castro punches a base hit the other way. And so he has his 183rd hit, and the Cubs have the leadoff man on.
Well, this is your typical Cub team here, Gary. We'll take another look here. It's a high slider. Belt high, not much break. He just kind of punches it through. Cubs are 15th in stolen bases, 15th in walks. It's a typical Cub team. Their team ERA is 15th, so then that's the recipe for a second division ball club.
So here's Darwin Barney, the rookie second baseman, hitting at .275. This is the lowest his batting average has been all year. He's just 3 for his last 38. He's hit that rookie wall in September.
Yeah, he might be running out of gas. Absolutely. Those minor league seasons usually end about this time.
Barney, who helped Oregon State to a College World Series title, 25 years old, 4th round pick in 2007, and has formed quite the running mate with Castro. Nothing and 2 to Barney with Aramis Ramirez waiting on deck. The Mets and Cubs played 3 games in Chicago in the middle of May. It was the coldest middle of May that I think I've ever experienced.
Oh, it was freezing.
And the Cubs won 2 out of 3. Pelfrey didn't pitch in that series.
You should be there in April. With the Cardinals in my day with the Cardinals, we go up in April in Chicago. Oh, my word.
I was very happy to miss that trip, boys.
Well, there wasn't any room for you in the booth anyway.
Hey, all night games, too. Yeah. Geez, brutal. Can't call it the Gibsons. No. It's terrible.
It's always lunch. Castro has 20 steals this year. He's been caught 6 times.
I filed a grievance with the commissioner.
1-2 to Barney is hidden to right center field, and Pagan playing shallow, able to make the shoestring catch. Nice play by Angel for the first out of the game. So Barney is retired, 1 out and 1 on.
Well, a lot of ground to cover here, and Angel, it's all about getting to the ball because a major leaguer is going to make the catch. So it's all about the jump and getting in position to get the glove on it, and Angel does that nicely.
So now Aramis Ramirez, and when we saw Ramirez in the middle of May, he was off to one of the world's worst starts. He had 1 home run through May 22nd. He has 23 home runs since May the 23rd. And he's now in the top 10 of the league in batting, top 10 of the league in RBIs. So he has put up an outstanding statistical year after a start that was just awful. And Castro dives back in. Now, Ramirez is in the last full year of his contract. The Cubs have an option on Ramirez for $16 million next year with a $2 million buyout. And obviously a lot of conversation in Chicago about what his future is. But as is the case with so many other decisions the Cubs have to make, they've got to hire a general manager before they can figure out what they're going to do about anything. And there's been a lot of speculation about whom the Cubs might pursue, and a lot of prominent names have been mentioned, including Andrew Friedman, who works with such a small budget down in Tampa Bay and would have a lot more resources if he came to Chicago. Carlos Pena waiting on deck. Another decision for the Cubs in the offseason. There goes Castro. The throw by Tolle is high, and Castro steals the base, his 21st. And the running parade against Mike Pelfrey continues.
He's a little bit slow going home, isn't he, Ron?
Yeah, this should be a perfect pitch for Tolle to throw, and he made a nice accurate throw, a little up, but not even close. Castro stole that base on Pelf.
17 stolen bases against Pelfrey in the last 15 starts. So teams have been taking liberties against him really all year. 1-2 to Ramirez, and it's up and away 2-2. Amazing that a lefty has given up more stolen bases than anybody in the league, isn't it?
Wow.
Ted Lilly at the top of that list. Hansen and then Pelfrey.
2 guys on the same starting rotation in Atlanta.
Now the 2-2, and Ramirez fouls it back. I'll tell you what, if the Mets had kept Chris Young healthy all year, he probably would have been at the top of that list. Young is a terrific pitcher who just, because of the 6'10" frame, just can't hold anybody on at all.
The whole thing about Pelf is that he's gotten into a kind of a rhythm in the stretch. He doesn't slide step. He has kind of the same approach, high leg kick, and that gives any runner plenty of time to steal a bag.
Well, we saw him use a slide step as recently as earlier this season, and he got whacked around by the Phillies, in particular one game.
Well, you always want a guy to be throwing his best stuff up there, but you also have to be able to adjust and have a slide step occasionally when you know it's a running situation.
Ramirez hits one down the right field line, slicing away, and foul.
I mean, Gary, in the middle, and Keith will tell you, in the middle of the 80s, when you had the pitch against that Cardinal team, you were Harry Houdini out there doing as much as you could to try to keep those speedsters, give Gary a chance against Coleman.
Cardinals of the 80s, they put the most pressure on with their team speed of any team I ever played against.
Of course, Vince Coleman, the Mets didn't throw him out for the longest time. I think he had 50 in a row. And the breaking ball wide for ball 4, so Pelfrey walks Ramirez after getting ahead of him 0-2.
What happens is if you're a first base coach, Bobby Deneer's the first base coach here, you put the clock on him. And you see from the stretch, that leg kick is just about as high as he would be from the windup. So nothing really changes, and it allows really the runners to have a free rein.
when I played for the Cardinals and Lou Brock was there, and Lou had already sold 118, whatever it was that year. Lou always, when he didn't play, he kept the clock. And he timed every pitcher what they were going home.
Now here's Carlos Pena, the first baseman. Pena having a very similar year to the year he had in Tampa Bay last year, although last year he hit under 200. Yeah. This year he's hitting 227, but pretty much the same, and a lot of walks, a lot of strikeouts, and 26 home runs.
Well, he has one plane swing, and if you throw it in that plane, he's going to hit it 450 feet. But he's got a lot of holes, and that's why he hits in the low 200s.
138 strikeouts against lefties. Geez, 143 batting average with 7 home runs. It's almost as if he should be a platoon player.
Although he hit a home run the other day against Bill Bray, the reliever for the Reds, and Mike Quade was encouraged seeing that from Pena. Now the 1-1 from Pelfrey, up and away, and this is the one guy in the Cubs lineup that will not chase pitches out of the strike zone. Pena recently had a 5-game span in which he walked 13 times, so he's not going to help you out. 87 walks this year. That's third in the National League. Twenty pitches already from Pelfrey in the opening inning. And now he's behind on Pena, 3-1, with Alfonso Soriano waiting on deck. Do you find it interesting that Terry Collins decided to put Tolley in there with Pelfrey again after they struggled so mightily to work together on Sunday?
I did, and this has been an ongoing thing all season long, Gary. Pelfrey with Tolley has not worked out. The numbers tell you it does not work out.
Yeah, there's ball 4, and now the bases are loaded. So a single, a stolen base, and 2 walks. And the Cubs have them loaded up in the first inning with Alfonso Soriano coming up. And the numbers will show it in terms of what Pelfrey's done with each catcher. I mean, you know, look at the stark difference. And for the longest time, Paulino was Pelfrey's personal catcher. As Dan Warthen goes out to talk, and I haven't really asked Terry about it, but I'm wondering why he got away from that combination.
Yeah, I don't know whether it's the sitting Paulino because the 3-catcher system, they use him as a pinch hitter late, or maybe the broken toe. Who knows what's keeping him on the bench when Pelfrey pitches. You know, Danny Warthen went out there to talk to Pelf. There's one thing that he is blatantly doing, and it's surprising that maybe he and Tolley couldn't talk about it. He's just flying open with his front side, and whenever you do that, the ball can only go in one way, and that's up and away to the left-handed hitter, and that's what he did to Pena.
So now he's got to deal with Soriano, who has 24 home runs this year, 20 or more for the 10th straight year, and an early crisis for Pelfrey to deal with. Bases loaded, 1 out. And Soriano takes a slider off the plate for ball 1. The Cubs are the only team in the major leagues this year without a grand slam. Of course, last year the Mets were the team that didn't have a grand slam and gave up the most. This year the Cubs don't have one, and they've given up the most. There's a fastball for a strike, and it's 1-1. The Cubs have allowed 7 grand slams. I think last year the Mets allowed what, 12?
Yeah, it was over 10. Ron and Bird on deck. Pelf at some point has got to throw one of those sinkers down and in. That's what he needs here, a ground ball.
Goes it to the other side of the plate, and it's 2-1.
And the only reason I say that, and listen, he might be able to strike out Soriano, but Mike's not a strikeout pitcher. So if you're not a guy who can go get a strikeout with a bases loaded situation, you got to go to your strength. Get a ground ball, turn it over, maybe you only give up 1.
4.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, the lowest number on the staff.
Hey, he's coming inside now.
And Soriano yanks it foul, and it's 2-2. Now the 2-2 from Pelfrey. And he struck him out. So Pelfrey needs the strikeout, gets the strikeout. 2 out.
Well, they have to take it back. I said Mike's not a strikeout pitcher, but he made a strikeout pitch. Perfect slider running away from Soriano, who's got that big swing, that one plane swing. He's looking to hit the ball over the fence every single time.
So now 2 out, and Pelfrey has a chance to get through the inning without the Cubs scoring. And here's Marlon Byrd. Byrd just 1 hit in his last 18 at bats, hitting at .284 for the season. And Byrd takes a strike.
Marlon Byrd's an interesting hitter. He's a very good breaking ball hitter, and he's a guy that has slider speed, bat speed. So when you throw him a fastball, usually shoots it to the right side, but a very good breaking ball hitter, good changeup hitter.
Byrd hitting just .193 with runners in scoring position this year. And he hits it sharply, but right at Reyes, and that retires the side. So despite a hit and a couple of walks, Pelfrey emerges from the first inning without the Cubs scoring. Luxury and smarter than that. And that lineup coming into view. Jose Reyes hit in both games yesterday. Now it also has an 11-game hitting streak. Mets were beaten twice yesterday after winning 10 of their previous 13. Today they go to work against Casey Coleman.
Oh, Casey Coleman's granddad, Joe, was an all-star for the Philadelphia A's in 1948. His dad, Joe, was an all-star for the Tigers in 1972. He has struggled last season and this season.
And we'll take a look at the Toyota defense of the Chicago Cubbies. And we mentioned at the open the 26 errors by the young Castro, most in the NL, but he is quite a talent.
Jose Reyes leads it off. Reyes starts the day with a .335 batting average, leading Ryan Braun by 6 points in the National League batting race. And carrying that 11-game hitting streak as Coleman misses wide, a ball and a strike.
You know, it's interesting. You watch Coleman, guys. He starts in the windup, he gets into the stretch position, and then he proceeds to the plate. Very unusual. Stretch. Here we go.
Turns his back, and he pitched against the Mets in Chicago earlier in the year, and they lit him up. And he didn't have much command of anything.
He was not doing that in May. That turn, set, deliver. So clearly they've changed his mechanics radically coming out of the windup. And when you have a 6.6 ERA, I guess that makes sense that they're trying to change it.
You know, a lot of times when you're teaching younger players to pitch, you'll get them right in the stretch and then you'll move them back to the windup. That's what they've really done here with Coleman.
Reminds me of when they teach very young pitchers how to hang their leg and keep their balance, doing it in pieces.
That's right.
That's really what he's doing here. And Reyes hits one toward the middle. Barney over to his right and makes the backhand play to throw him out, one away.
Well, a guy like Reyes, if you take a step back to get the long hop, boy, you do so at your own peril. With Reyes' speed, you kind of want to maybe go in and get the short hop.
It was interesting, though, watching Reyes run that ball out, because Terry Collins addressed today the notion of Reyes needing to not run 100% all the time. And he talked specifically about ground balls to second base. And Reyes hits one toward didn't say that he should jog, but he said that he shouldn't run 100%, and clearly he did not there. And, you know, it's a really fine line with a player like Reyes, for whom his threat of running 100% puts pressure on infielders, and that's such a big part of his value. So where do you draw the line?
You are kind of walking a razor's edge there. And, you know, Jose does not, at this point in his career, he only knows one speed. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to reserve his strength, because his numbers have reflected, Gary, the last couple months of the season, his batting average drops down the last 2 months. So I think that they're trying to get him to reserve, so just be judicious. If you hit a one-hop bullet at the second baseman, you know, do you have to put it like the Energizer Bunny and run like heck to first base? You know, maybe just, he ran hard out of the box. You see the play in front of you, the throws to the first baseman. But again, it's a fine line if you entertain that idea.
And Turner foul tips it, held by Soto. That's a strikeout. And so Justin is down on strikes for the second out.
Ronnie, you wanted to add something, I think.
I don't know if I wanted to add. I was thinking about it as you were talking about it, and I think you answered my question. And that is coming out of the box hard, and then once you realize that the play is going to be kind of over, kind of shut it down a little bit. I think that's a hard thing to do. You're right. It's a hard to, you know, at this point in his career, to change it up.
It's Lucas Duda with 2 out. And again, it's part of Reyes' appeal as a fan favorite, but also part of his appeal as a player who helps you win, is that with the energy that he displays all the time, it's something that lifts an entire team.
It's infectious.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's make a classic example. That young man over there, our first base coach, the Mets first base coach, Mookie Wilson, all he knew was one speed. He ran everything out hard to first base, and as a result, the whole Game 6 in the World Series changed on it.
Yeah, you could have broke that one down, couldn't you?
He could have broke it down, and Buckner would have been more relaxed and not have felt a sense of urgency. So there's your fine line right there. But Mook only knew one speed.
It's a fascinating question, because good changeup by Coleman, 2-2. The one thing you teach players from the time they start playing is to run hard, is to hustle, to give yourself a chance on every play. Something good might happen, and it's hard to tell a player to unlearn that. Strike 3 called. Duda down looking, so Coleman off to a good start. A couple of strikeouts and a 1-2-3 opening inning. Mets and Cubs, no score as we go to the second at Citi Field. prior to that save.
No.
Torch lit at sunset. Brian LaHare will lead off for the Cubs in the second inning. LaHare, a 28-year-old, not quite rookie. Played a little for Seattle back in 2008. He's had 13 at-bats with the Cubs so far, and he has 5 hits. And after a couple of successful starts at first base, getting a start in right field today.
He's kind of like their Pascucci, isn't he? I mean, he's a big boy. Not as big as Val, though. Maybe in between Duda and Val.
Well, we decided to leave those lines on the screen for a while because, you know, sometimes we need a little guidance just to keep things straight. 2 balls and a strike to LaHare.
Well, we were framing. We were framing the shot.
Well, we're really making sure that Al doesn't mail it in September. We're going to keep him right on point.
LaHare bounces one behind the bag, and Evans makes the play. 1 away.
I'm going to start calling Nick sure-handed Nick.
Yeah.
Jeez, he's just everything hit to him. He makes the plays.
1 out and nobody on. Here's Giovanni Soto, the catcher. Soto, who has struggled recently, hitting at .226 for the year. Soto had a wonderful rookie season, and he has never been the same player since.
It was interesting because that pitching staff just raved about him his rookie year when he won the Rookie of the Year. Did a great job at the plate, great numbers, and then his sophomore season was just a disaster.
Some recent Rookies of the Year have gone through Joe Charbonneau syndrome. I mean, you know, Chris Coghlan, after winning the Rookie of the Year 2 years ago, now found himself in the minor leagues. Last year's Rookie of the Year, Buster Posey, of course, unfortunately got injured and has missed more than half the year.
But second place last year, and some people thought he should have won it. Hayward for Atlanta has been struggling all year.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Did they call it Joe Charbonneau syndrome?
Well,
or did I just make that up?
No.
It was sophomore jinx when I was a kid. You know, I think Charbonneau came along in the 70s. It was always the sophomore jinx.
I think I don't know if all our fans know the reference to Joe Charbonneau.
Well, Joe Charbonneau was a very talented young outfielder with the Indians who won Rookie of the Year. Out to right field, and Duda is there, and he had some unique talents away from the game too. He could screw open beer bottles with his eye socket. You know, not too many people can do that. And you know, maybe he did more of that and, you know, less baseball activities, and things kind of went south for him.
That was more the Animal House years, so you were trying to find ways to open a beer can.
Set yourself apart in terms of your abilities. Casey Coleman takes a strike. Coleman, a right-hand pitcher, but a left-hand batter. Pelfrey got himself out of big trouble in the first inning, a single and 2 walks, but he struck out Soriano and got Bird on a line drive. Now he's ahead on Coleman 0-2 with a chance for a 1-2-3 inning. Coleman's got some severe bucket foot.
He reminds me of David Cohn. When he gets in that box, he looks like he can hit, but as the pitch approaches, it gets dicier and dicier.
And that's strike 3 called, so Pelfrey has his second strikeout. Coleman down looking. David Wright to lead off for the Mets when they come up in the bottom of the second. No score. Drive. Win the ultimate Drive fan sweepstakes. Text Drive to 38807 or log on to drivesweepstakes.com. David Wright will lead off for New York in the second inning against Casey Coleman. Coleman's put a couple of decent starts back to back. Had a no decision against the Pirates his last time out Saturday. Just 1 earned run in 6 innings.
Now, going 6 innings was the big thing for Coleman. Over the course of his starts, he's averaging less than 5 per start. That is not a good number.
Wright, Pagan, and Bay up for the Mets in the home second. David just 1 hit in his last 14 at bats, getting a 270 for the year. David did not play in the second game of the doubleheader yesterday.
Oh boy, you better not do that with people on base.
Well, he hasn't had anybody on base yet, so we'll see.
You know what I'm saying? I've got 2 outs, guy on third,
yeah,
right there, delaying.
Did you see that? Did you analyze that? Down to third base, and Ramirez has got it. Wright retired, 1 away. I think we were showing a graph of David's batting average this year.
While it was up?
Well, we'll update it with the 0 for 1 today and get our technical glitch taken care of. And the next time he comes up, it'll be all fixed.
I thought it was the hypotenuse of the right triangle.
A squared plus B squared equals C squared.
And you get Pythagoras, right?
Here's Angel Pagan. Angel at 266 for the year. And takes a strike from Coleman. Well, Coleman has already worked as deep into this game as he did the last time he faced the Mets back in May. Went just an inning and a third in that start, allowed 6 runs, 7 hits. Because his dad was a big leaguer, Casey Coleman grew up around the game. Remembers being in the Angels clubhouse when he was 9 years old and learning all about how a big leaguer conducts himself. And Pagan goes around, and Coleman has his 3rd strikeout. So a pitcher with a 6.6 ERA has looked awfully sharp early in this game.
Well, he threw 2 pitches inside for a fastball, Keith, and then went away.
Here's Jason Bay with 2 out and nobody on. Jason in his best stretch as a Met, hitting .435 over a 7-game hitting streak and driving the ball. Had a grand slam in the first game of the doubleheader yesterday. Sacrifice fly, a walk, and a single in the second game.
Take my word for it, that pitch was away to Pagan. I'm not kidding.
Oh, we saw that.
Okay.
Once. 2 balls and a strike to Bay. 24-year-old Casey Coleman, 15th round draft pick by the Cubs in 2008. Ronnie mentioned that his dad and his grandfather both played in the big leagues. Only the 4th 3-generation big league family in Major League history. Over the bag and fair. Past the glove of Ramirez. Bay takes a turn. He's going to challenge Soriano, and he gets there safely. So Jason Bay adds to that extra base hit total. He now has an 8-game hitting streak. Well, he barely kept it fair over the bag. And then always a good bet to run against Soriano, who is not quick getting to the ball, and it pays off for Bay. And now Nick Evans will try and get him in. Evans at 272. Now the breaking ball by Coleman to start him off. That goes to the backstop, moving Bay over to third. So on the wild pitch, Bay now at third with 2 away. 1-1 to Evans, who had the big night in Miami on Tuesday night with 3 go-ahead hits. In the 3 games since, has gone just 1 for 11.
Well, he has not done anything inside. If you're a right-handed hitter, you can try to shoot that ball to right field.
Josh Tolley hitting 8th in the order, waiting on deck.
Boy, he's having a hard time seeing the signs from Soto.
Needs to paint his fingers.
Yep. You see a lot of the catchers will paint their fingernails white, so it's a little easier for the pitcher to see. Right now, Coleman having a hard time with Soto.
2-2 to Evans, and he struck him out with a curveball. So Coleman, with his 4th strikeout, works around the Bay double, keeps it a scoreless game after 2. A difficult first inning to get through, but a 1-2-3 second. Now he'll take on the top of the Cubs batting order in the third. Starlin Castro, who poked a single into right field and stole a base, will lead off in the 3rd inning. Castro hit 300 as a rookie last year. With his base hit his first time up, he's at 307. There's been only one Cub in history to hit 300 or better in each of his first 2 seasons. And that was a guy who won his share of batting titles, Bill Madlock.
Oh, well, what a hitter he was. Could not get inside on Bill Madlock. Short arms.
Slow ground ball, and Reyes comes in to get it. 1 out. Madlock hit 313 as a rookie in 1974, and then the next year won the batting title, 354, and then won it again the next year, 339.
That pitch that Pelf threw right there to Castro that jammed him with a weak ground ball to Reyes would have been a BB by Madlock. Loved that ball in.
Well, again, you mentioned short arms, and you know, when people talk about players, that's something they don't necessarily list as an asset, but it's a huge asset for a hitter if you have the strength to go with those short arms.
I'm trying to think of other guys. Ron Say, Keith?
Say, the Penguin. He was a Deadpool hitter. Wasn't the hitter that Madlock was. Obviously had more power. Different type of hitter altogether. Madlock also won a batting title in San Francisco with the Giants. Did he win one with the Pirates too?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure if he won 4. Wow.
Line caught by Evans. 2 out.
Well, the guy who just left here yesterday, Dan Ugla, is from that school.
Right. Greg Jeffries, short arms.
Yeah.
Ooh. I think Madlock won a batting title with the Pirates.
Our mystery stat guy will let us know.
Oh, that's right. He is mystery.
Here's Aramis Ramirez, who walked his first time up. He's not mystery. He's just incognito.
Oh, okay.
We sent our regular stat guy, Dave Freed, on the road. He's doing 3 football games in 3 days. I didn't know he was that in demand.
Exactly. Down in distance, Dave. Down in distance.
Two to Ramirez, and that's off the plate. So Ramirez, who walked his first time up, now up in the count 3-0. Pelfrey's retired 7 in a row. There's a strike, 3-1.
Three-one slider, Keith.
Sinker in.
Yeah, went right at him.
Yes, he won in '81. Actually, he actually won a batting title with the Giants too, though. In San Francisco, did he not?
Maybe not.
No?
According to our crack anonymous stat guy,
So he won
2 with the Cubs, 2 with the Pirates.
It's 75, 76, 81, and 83. Okay, I'm wrong.
3-2 from Pelfrey, and Ramirez shoots one into center field for a base hit. Pagan tries to get over and cut it off. Ramirez is going to try for 2, and the throw comes in weakly, and Ramirez has a double. 34th double of the year for Aramis Ramirez. Well, if you throw out his first 7 weeks of the season, he's having an extraordinary year.
Well, high fastball right there, out over the plate, and that is a laser beam in the gap.
It's been interesting, guys. We always talk about pitcher's mechanics. The mechanics of Angel Pagan have to be corrected. Every single throw he throws to any base always runs to the hand side.
Which means he's not coming over the top?
But I think he's just not squaring up or trying to throw too quickly, not getting his feet set. Or he's got to play that slice that he has throwing.
Here's Carlos Pena, who drew a walk his first time up. And the Mets put on a modified shift against him. It's that throw by Pagan.
Well, Pagan has had a little bit of trouble laterally. And his throws have been not as accurate this year, where last year he was just spot on.
Not as accurate and also not as strong. I mean, he's got a really good arm, but we really haven't seen it the way we did last year. And Pena takes a fastball for a strike. Pelfrey's given up 2 hits. He's walked 2, struck out 2. Soriano would be next. One and 2 to Carlos Pena. And Pelfrey missing high. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Cubs have struggled all year with runners in scoring position, particularly the last month and a half. They had a couple of chances in the first inning, and now Pena with a crack here in the third. Since the 1st of August, the Cubs as a team are hitting 189 with runners in scoring position. And that's what Pena's done for the season. Pena, another guy like Ramirez, they have to make a decision on. He's a free agent at the end of the year. Here's a 3-2, and he hits one deep to center field. That goes Pregame. He'll take a look, and that ball's long gone. Wow. Carlos Pena with a bomb into the center field seats. His 27th of the year, and it's 2-0 Chicago. Well, Mike Pelfrey had gone 46 innings without allowing a home run. The second longest streak of his career after struggling with the long ball early in the year. But this is a very long ball.
Well, that ball just stayed straight as a string right down the middle. He is a back foot hitter with a tremendous uppercut. And when you find his bat, as good a power as anyone in the game.
Here's Soriano. If you sit in the Big Apple seats in center field, you're not necessarily expecting a souvenir. But Pena hit one about 15 rows deep. Soriano struck out his first time up. And Pelfrey missing high 2-0. That's 20 home runs now allowed by Pelfrey compared to 12 last year. But he seemed to have the go for ball problem in check over his last 4 or 5 starts. Now Soriano hits one out to center. Not hit quite as well. And Pregame has room. That retires the side. First run of the game brought to you by the all-new Chevy Cruze. Find the Cruze and 9 other Chevy models with 32 mpg at ChevyOffers.com. Carlos Pena with a 2-run bomb, and it's 2-0 Chicago. Nothing. You know, this weekend is important for a lot of reasons, but most of all to look back the 10 years since 9/11. And of course the Mets were so closely tied with what happened after 9/11, and one of the guys who was a big part of the Mets in 2001, Robin Ventura, is with us. It's so great to have you back.
It is nice to be here. I want the 2 for us, though. I want the 2. I just saw that when I was walking in. I think we want 2 runs.
Well, perhaps your presence here will turn that around.
Thanks, Sharon.
You know, Robin, you spent 3 years as a Met, and I know that, you know, 99 and 2000 are years that everybody talks about because, you know, this team had a run of success in those years that they hadn't had in a long time. But, you know, this weekend is about 9/11, and you guys, the work that the ball club did, and the players and the managers and the coaches, just in terms of lifting the spirits of this city, was so important. What do you remember from those days?
Well, I mean, the first thing is that you get emotional thinking about it.
As Castro throws out.
But, I mean, it goes back that we weren't here, and then by the time you get back, Shea was being used as a relief effort, really. I mean, it was a staging area for all the supplies coming in, going into the city, and, I think Bobby did a great job of getting guys out, and they were putting boxes together, and so even when we came in to practice, you couldn't really practice because emotionally you were with all these firefighters that were still around the stadium. They were taking batting practice with us, taking ground balls, and it was very emotional to think that and you almost felt selfish that you were trying to play baseball with what was going on.
I mean, I remember the first games, even before the Mets came back to New York, in Pittsburgh. And nobody really seemed to know what to do, know whether playing was the right thing at that time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we didn't know if we were supposed to play or not. And I think, some guys you just, you're told you need to play and go play. And it was an emotional game. Even after the game, guys were, you would see a guy or two break down just because of the enormity of it. You finally got to let it out. Just how tough the week was. So it was, that trip to Pittsburgh was a struggle.
And not only the trip to Pittsburgh, but I heard coming back, going over the George Washington Bridge was real surreal for your whole ball club as you guys made that trek very slowly over the bridge.
Right. We were in Pittsburgh on 9/11, and then they had put us in a different hotel because we were next to a federal building. And they'd moved us out to a hotel, and then we drove back. And, normally when you're on a bus, you got movies going on, guys are, getting on each other, yelling. And it was different. Guys weren't talking quite as much. But as soon as we hit the turnpike and you could see the city on the right side, I mean, it just changed the mood of everything. Everybody was silent. You just couldn't believe what you were seeing. And it's still tough.
And then when you guys came back to play in New York 10 days after, there was the emotion before the game, the bagpipes and you guys and the Braves hugging in the middle of the field and all that kind of stuff. And then there was the game. And it seemed as though within the context of that night, things changed, even if only a little bit.
Yeah, and I think the beginning, I remember the pregame ceremonies. I can remember that. I cannot remember the game that well. I remember Mike hitting a home run, but all that stuff that was going on before the game. I mean, bagpipes, even to this day, to hear them is just, I mean, it'll tear me up. But it did change. I mean, during that game, people were there. You could see people in the stands smiling, clapping. When Mike hit the home run, I think that was the moment it just kind of let loose.
Reyes hits one out to left field, and Soriano's got it. Can you hang with us for another half?
I can hang.
Robin Ventura joining us here in the booth as we go to the bottom of the third on the weekend that we remember 9/11. Bird will lead off against Mike Pelfrey, and we're happy to have Robin Ventura in the booth with us. Let's talk about some happier times. We were talking about it before you came in tonight, and Keith was joking. How could Todd Pratt have tackled you when you hit that grand slam against the Braves?
I don't know. I mean, it's one of those that at the time you're telling them to run around, but everybody remembers it, which is kind of cool. I mean, it was crazy, and as long as we won the game and people remember it, it's fun. It's a fun thing to remember.
That was an amazing season. I mean, you had a great year that year. I think you drove in 120 runs, finished 6th in the MVP balloting, and it was really the year that rejuvenated this franchise.
It was. Guys were talking about it earlier in '98. The collapse. I didn't really know that much history about it. You kind of hear about it, and then '99 we almost have it, and then you kind of resuscitate yourself and make it into the playoffs and have a good run. Really, I mean, it was a great place. It was so much fun to come to the ballpark, and that's a big difference for a lot of teams.
And then, of course, the next year in 2000, playing in the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good group of guys, and obviously with Mike as kind of the linchpin of your offense, but it was a great team to play on.
As Marlon Byrd picks up a leadoff hit, and here's Robin. Gold Glove at third base. And there you are waving.
Keith's still mad. He is. Keith's like, I'm gonna let Keith be mad for me.
Keith said 3 ribeye steaks took away from me.
He's still shaking his head.
Got your Cadillac ready and took it away.
Yeah, I know.
Well, the thing is,
I had a good trot going and everything.
Tank hit his big home run against the Diamondbacks the week before. Nobody tackled him.
Well, he let him get around there.
Here's LaHare, and he takes the strike. In 1999, Sports Illustrated ran a cover that declared you and Ray Ordonez, Garno Alfonso, John Olerud the greatest infield ever.
A little premature, probably. It was a great group to play with. I mean, who knows?
Duda going back, it's over his head, and LaHare has an extra base hit. Bird heading home. The throw goes to third. And LaHare is safe for the triple. Close play. 3-0 Chicago.
Well, Collins is going to argue that 2 things happened on that play. One is that he looked out at third base, and the other is that Marlon Byrd, for a big man, runs as well as anyone in the game. He looks like a running back running around the bases.
And he's going to lose this argument.
Well, David took that throw, kind of reduced the space and took it out front and tagged him before I think he got to that base.
Angel Campos, the third base umpire.
Didn't get that sinker away enough. It went down and got it. He might have beat it.
I think so. I thought he got him before he got that hand. Wants a slap right on his armpit. Close play, though.
Robin, as a third baseman on that play, where do you want to be positioning yourself?
Well, I mean, right here, what David's trying to do is get the ball quicker. And sometimes you don't get that call because they like the tag being down on the hand close to the bag so they can see it easier. And it usually goes to the runner when you come up. But I understand what David's trying to do. You're trying to get the ball quicker and just get it on him. And you want to be out in front to be able to tag him. It's just right there, the umpire's seeing that you're tagging him, on the shoulder, so you don't get that call. But he's out.
Yeah, exactly. Left hand is up when the tag's applied, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, you see he tags him right there, and you can see he's about 3 feet up, which is, he's just cutting off that time.
And David with a great grab with that broken bat liner by Soto for the first out. We've been watching David right now for 8 or 9 years, and he has changed somewhat in the way he's played the position. And Chip Hale is the Mets infield coach, and he invokes your name a lot, talking about the way David plays in terms of the way he will sometimes play balls off to the side rather than getting in front. Did you feel as though you changed the position a little bit from the way it was played before, where they used to teach guys to play the ball off their chest?
I don't know if I changed it. It was just a way to try and get a better hop. Really, at one point, at third base, you can't just play the game of I'm going to block it and then throw a guy out at first base, because guys are fast. You're just not going to be able to do it. So to be able to change that, you might take a step back, play it to the side, get yourself a better hop so you could actually catch it. It was about catching it, not just trying to knock it down.
And did you use a significantly bigger glove to be able to do that?
Significant's probably a good word. It was a little bit big. We were talking about it earlier. It was bigger than everybody else's, but I think when I first came in, it was about your hands, and you get made fun of because everybody wants to be known as having great hands, but I always just thought I wanted to catch it first, and then I'll worry about throwing it over there after. And guys hit it hard at third base. You're not always getting the softies. So I did use a bigger glove, and I felt it gave me an advantage. It made me feel more confident when I was over there, and to be able to catch it instead of just trying to knock it down with my body.
We're talking with Robin Ventura, 6-time Gold Glover. Knows a thing or two about playing third base. I want to go back to that infield of 1999, because when you arrived, Edgardo Alfonso had been a third baseman. He went back to play second. You had Ordonez, who for 2 or 3 years was as good as anybody, and Olerud, who was probably the most underrated of the four.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the great things. Obviously, with Keith having played for the Mets, but when you have a first baseman, that's kind of an ugly group, but but when you have a first baseman that had such a good glove, and John's a big guy. He's a good 6'5". He's a great target over there. So all you really had to do is get it close.
Pitcher Coleman hits it out to left field. LaHair tagging, coming. Bay with the throw, and he's out. Nice tag by Josh Tolley for the double play. Cubs get a run, and Bay throws out LaHair at the plate to end the inning. Might have been saved.
Flip a coin.
Robin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Robin, great to see you.
Nice seeing you guys.
Enjoy your weekend.
Well, this is the only time that you put a little air under the throw because there's no need for the cutoff. What do you think, Keith?
I thought he was safe.
Me too.
Well, he should have been out at third, and he was called safe. Should have been safe at home. He was called out, so they eventually got it right. I mean, he shouldn't have been at third in the first place.
Right.
So justice was served. Justin Turner takes a curveball for a strike.
He definitely has that toe.
Yep.
Over the plate.
So Brian LaHare, first big league triple, and then gets thrown out at the plate. So the Mets now down 3-0 against Casey Coleman and the Cubs. Turner struck out his first trip.
Keith,
Turner due to end right for the Mets in the fourth.
sorry about that, Gary. Keith, do you run there, LaHare, with Castro coming up? Most hits in the National League?
I think it was deep enough to run him.
Yeah.
LaHare doesn't run that well. And he did beat it, I felt.
Yeah, okay.
Third outfield assist of the year for Bay. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Turner. Mets have just 1 hit. That was Bay's double in the second inning. Coleman hasn't walked a batter. He struck out 4.
Oh, that ball came back up and hit Turner maybe in the face.
He has been nicked and run into and banged up in every conceivable way this year. And this time he takes one off the bottom side of the brim of his helmet.
That kind of grazed him.
Yeah.
Like an uppercut that just missed.
Counter.
It's like something out of Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Knock your block off.
Exactly. 3-2 now to Turner. Well, it was nice to have Robin Ventura in the booth with us. He was as consummate a player as you could possibly be. Hit toward the middle of the diamond and a base hit for Turner. So the Mets have their second hit off Casey Coleman. And he was just one of those guys who gave you quality at bat, played great defense, and was a great teammate all the time.
Great sense of humor. And I was around when Robin was here, and one of those guys you wish you could have played with. And I mean that.
Yeah,
I mean that sincerely.
No, absolutely. He was one of those guys that had many superstar seasons, and he never acted like a superstar. Just part of the group.
Here's Lucas Duda, who took a call third strike his first time up. Turner at first and nobody out, and it's pulled past Pena and down the line. Turner will go to third as LaHare gets it in, and the Mets have runners at the corners with nobody out. So Duda hitting one between Pena and the bag.
Bullet right here. Oh, under his glove.
Just beat him.
Wasn't that far to his right. A little slow reacting.
That's a play he usually makes. He's a very good first baseman. So the Mets with a couple of hits to start the fourth with their best scoring threat of the night, David Wright, the batter. David bounced out to third base his first time up. So second time around the batting order. Castro to his right gets in front of it, out at second. Barney the relay not in time as a run comes home. That cuts the Chicago lead to 3-1, but a nice play by Castro to get that thing started.
Well, once this ball gets by Ramirez, so it didn't even get a chance to get there. It was hit too much in the hole to turn two.
Very interesting by Barney there as Wright was hustling. Barney looked like he was in between trying to catch that ball to get the force out, and then said, well, you know what, I'm going to change my mind and throw the ball to first base. His feet kind of got crossed up.
It wasn't a quick turn, was it?
You know what I think it might have been as Angel Pagan steps in? He might have been anticipating the runner arriving sooner than he did. Because, you know, he doesn't know Duda.
Due to speed.
It's almost like he was ready to brace himself and there's nothing to brace for.
Always a good idea to keep your shoes tied in the middle of a game.
Pagan struck out his first time up.
We'll take another look at this turn by Barney. And Ronnie's absolutely correct here. Just a slow turn. A lot of time in between the exchange there.
And with that, David Wright picked up his 50th run batted in of the season. About half the number he'd like to have had this year.
When you see the real good turns from second basemen in the history of this game, it almost looks like it caroms the first.
Well, you know, guys practice sometimes with that little paddle instead of using a glove, so they basically bank it off the paddle and into their bare hand. And that's ideally how quick you'd like that ball to get from glove to hand and then release.
I saw guys when I was learning how to play baseball many years ago would use just the back of their glove, Gary. They would close their glove, use the back of their glove, and play it off the back without it going in the pocket.
Well, they say Bill Mazeroski had the quickest turn of anybody ever. Never really got to see Maz play. Who was the best that you guys played with or against?
Tito Fuentes was pretty quick.
Yeah.
He was quick. You couldn't get him. Tito took pride in the fact that you couldn't take him out at second base. That's going back.
Pagan hits it sharply. Base hit. Wright will turn second and hold there as Bird gets it in quickly.
So the Mets have their third hit of the inning.
Well, they're kind of getting their little measure of Coleman here now. If you're a left-hand hitter, Coleman is not a guy you want to try to pull. Was Manny Trio quick, or just was it the great arm?
Manny Trio, great arm. Yeah, great arm. I thought that probably no one styled more than Tommy Herr. He made it look easy, didn't he, when he got that ball? Never had to jump over anyone, just had that strong arm.
Here's Jason Bay, who had the Mets' first hit, a double right over the third base bag in the second inning. Bay has now had at least one extra base hit in 5 of his last 6 games. Pitching coach for the Cubs, Mark Riggins, heads out to the mound. Nick Evans on deck. So Riggins trying to nip it in the bud for Coleman, who had a very successful first pass through the batting order, but is struggling in his second.
If you like Jody Applegate on the Pix 11 News at 10, you're going to love her at 5. For a genuinely different newscast, watch the all-new Pix 11 News at 5, premiering Monday on Pix 11. A long conversation at the mound. With his double his first time up, Bay now has an 8-game hitting streak going, hitting well over 400 over that stretch. And most importantly, the power is coming back, the doubles and the home runs. 2 on and 1 out. Now the breaking ball low and away, 2-0.
Well, you see this from a lot of young pitchers, that if everything is going right, they are very aggressive. They throw strikes. They go after the hitters. You give them a couple uppercuts. You were talking about it earlier, Keith. A couple of base hits, and now they start to miss the strike zone.
You always want to find out how a pitcher pitches with men on base.
Yeah.
It's almost the equivalent of you find out who the clutch hitters are. Make the pitches in the clutch. Really, it's reverse.
Yep.
3-0 to Bay, and he takes one down the middle.
Unless you're one of the more elite pitchers of the game, you're going to always pitch with people on base, and the good pitchers with RISP always have a low number.
Hit hard over the bag. That's a fair ball. And that'll hit the sidewall and stick for a moment. Wright comes in to score. Stopping at third, Pagan. Jason Bay with his second double of the game. And now it's 3-2 Chicago.
More and more every day. Jason Bay looking more like himself.
Well, it's the high fastball up wants it away, and it's right down the middle and up.
So 2 runs are in, 2 in scoring position. Nick Evans the batter. And a high breaking ball, 0-1. Evans struck out his first time up. Middle infield back for Chicago. They'll concede the tying run to try and get an out. Four hits in the inning for New York. A ball and a strike to Evans. Pagan now at third, Bay at second. With 2 runs home in the inning, Josh Tolley waiting on deck. Evans far more effective when he's had runners on base. Hitting .314 with runners in scoring position. And it's hit toward the hole off the glove of Ramirez. Castro has time to throw on Evans, but Pagan scores the tying run, and it's 3-3. So Evans retired on the 5-6-3 putout, but give him an RBI, his 19th, getting the tying run home.
Well, the Mets are just teeing off on Coleman this inning. This is another rip. Ramirez just gets very fortunate there and tips it right to Castro. This had 2 ribeyes all written all over it.
Now Tolley takes low and in for ball 1. So 3 runs are in on 4 hits. Bay now at second with 2 out. Tolley grounded out to short his first time up. Nick Evans, who was adept at driving in the go-ahead runs in Miami, this time drives in the tying run. A change-up strike, 1-1.
He had 3, right, that game?
3 in 1 game.
Wow.
Only the 4th Met ever to do that. Have 3 go-ahead RBIs in the same game. You say Cleon Jones, Mike Piazza, and Jason Phillips.
Phillips, that's right.
2003. Toward the middle of the diamond, Castro flashing over, and has plenty of time to throw out Tolley. That ends the inning, but the Mets get even with 3 runs on 4 hits off Casey Coleman. 3-3 game after 4. With the best-selling values in America. Well, Mike Pelfrey now back even after the Mets got him 3 runs in the bottom of the 4th. He'll take on the top of the Cubs batting order in the 5th. Starlin Castro, Darwin Barney, and Aramis Ramirez. Pelfrey got out of a huge jam in the 1st inning, left the bases loaded, but gave up a 2-run homer to Pena in the 3rd, and then a run-scoring triple to LaHare in the 4th. Each team now with 3 runs and 5 hits. Castro 1 for 2, single to right, stole a base in the 1st inning, grounded out in the 3rd. 183 hits to lead the National League. So if he has a nice finish, Castro certainly has a shot at 200 hits this year. Always a nice milestone for a hitter. Tough hop, and David picks it up and throws him out. Well, he was trying to come in and get the short hop, realized it wasn't available, and took what he could get.
Well, they got the short hop right there, and that's what you always look for.
1 out and nobody on. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Well, you guys had Robin Ventura in the booth before. Super Joe is here now, Joe McEwing, and you guys were talking to Robin. You know, obviously this is a weekend we remember all the heroes of 9/11 and all those lost. You, of course, you guys were in Pittsburgh and coming home as Barney hits one to left right at bay, 2 down. And then coming back across the George Washington Bridge. Obviously, you didn't play for a while. What do you remember about that whole experience and that whole time as a member of this team?
I remember a lot. You know, just to be part of relief efforts after 9/11, the staging ground here at Shea Stadium, and you know, just to be a part of it, to help out in any possible way when so many people gave their lives to support and help so many families, and you know, that's what this game's all about, to give back, and very fortunate to be able to be in that situation to give back.
I remember watching the game, you know, the first game here I'm talking about against the Braves, and it almost seemed like people didn't know how to react. What was your gauge about the fans at the ballpark that day?
I mean, it was a very somber night in the beginning, and you know, and we took it as a ball club took it as a privilege to go out and be able to, you know, play this great game, that America's game that we love to play, and be able to take the thoughts off of such a tragedy for a couple hours a night. So individuals who lost lives and in a tragedy were able to enjoy a night.
Joe, can you just hang on? I want to finish talking to you when we come back as Duda makes the out. 3-3 game here at Citi Field. We'll be back with Joe McEwing after this. Some great faces here tonight. Joe McEwing joining me. Joe, you were talking about 9/11. You know, we had an interesting conversation, separate topic. about, you know, a veteran guy on the bench and how important that role is and how hard that role is to do. Now, I don't know if anybody did it better. You played a different position every day, seemingly. What kind of mindset does it take to be able to do exactly what you do and what it's hard to find today?
You know, you got to go out there and be mentally, physically prepared every single day. You know, get your work done, take your ground balls at third base, shortstop, second base, take your balls off the bat in the outfield, and go out there being mentally prepared. And as you're sitting there on the bench during the game, you try to be a manager and play along with the manager, you know, so you're prepared for every situation you're ready for.
Interesting you mentioned try to be a manager because, I mean, you just retired at the end of the 07 season and you are already managing the AAA Chicago White Sox in Charlotte this year. This is your first year with AAA. You've been with the organization. This came quickly for you. I mean, what's it like as a younger manager, as a guy that really just got done with the game? How has that quick transition been for you? And maybe how has it helped you relating to some of the guys? It's
been outstanding. You know, White Sox gave me an excellent opportunity to manage the AAA this year. And as far as going through what they're going through, I know what they're going through. I've been the guy trying to get to the big leagues for the first time. I've been the guy trying to get back to the big leagues, and I've been the guy at the end of my career looking to decide what I want to do, if I want to continue to play or get in the game. So I can relate to everything they're going through, and you just stay positive. And you know, this game's hard enough to go out there and play, and so you understand what they're going through every single day.
At what point, you know, did you think about that? I mean, were you thinking about that at times on the bench, that hey, I can do this and this could be a future for me? When did that first enter your head?
I've been thinking about that since I was in the minor leagues. Really? Yeah, you know, and I was mentored by George Kissel, who Keith knows in the Cardinal system, and he gave his life to this game. And you know, I was very fortunate to be taught by him, and a lot of words and teaching still come out of my mouth or from him. And you know, he gave his whole life, and I felt as if it was my turn to give back.
You know, I know Met fans certainly enjoyed watching you play while you were here, and maybe they can enjoy seeing you in a dugout soon coming to a home near you. Good luck with that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Joe McEwing, guys, let's go back upstairs to you.
Well, for those of us who were fortunate enough to be around Joe for the 5 years he spent as a Met, it is no surprise at all that he's been so successful so quickly as a minor league manager. I mean, nobody spent more time in the ballpark. Nobody studied the game more. Nobody worked harder than Joe. You know, he was not a guy with great physical skills, but he got every ounce out of what he had.
I forgot that Joe played for the Cardinals and got to be around George Kissel. Completely, I forgot all about it.
It was really the only year in Joe's career that he was an everyday player.
Right.
Was that year he spent with the Cardinals. And he came up through their system. Reyes lofts one down the left field side. And that lands fair and hops into the stands for a ground rule double. Well, Soriano just doesn't move very well, and even though that ball was in the air forever, he couldn't get there, and Reyes has himself a ground rule double.
It just looked like Soriano thought it was going to be foul. Wow. Jeez.
Well, he's just not a very good outfielder. Signed to an 8-year contract, which has 3 more years to run after this.
It's not a good enough excuse for me, Gary. I'm sorry. He pulled up on that ball, didn't want to challenge the fence, whatever.
He pulled up.
Come on,
way early. Way early.
I mean, you want to know why you're a second division club?
Well, I'll go back to when he was in his free agent year with the Nationals, and we had the conversation at the time, because he was having a huge statistical year, home runs and stolen bases, about whether you wanted to sign a guy like Soriano to a long-term contract, which the Cubs did, 8 years for huge money, and you reap what you sow.
Well, that's why Jim Hendry is no longer the GM. The 2 contracts, really, the Soriano contract and the Zambrano contract, have really handicapped and hindered this organization.
So the Mets have the go-ahead run at second. Reyes now has a 12-game hitting streak. And Turner pokes one foul. Turner had a base hit his last time up and scored the first Met run. And Turner now has a 10-game hitting streak. Well, the Zambrano thing is even sadder because, you know, he's been suspended. Technically, he's eligible to come off now, but basically the Cubs told him to go home.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 more years to go on his deal for about $18 million a year, and in all probability they're just going to swallow that contract.
Wow.
Unless they can find a way to have somebody take him off their hands.
Poke the other way, and Turner's got himself a soft hit. And that'll bring home Reyes with the lead run. Turner trying for 2. The throw coming in is not in time. Back-to-back doubles by Reyes and Turner, and the Mets lead 4-3.
All going to prove you don't have to hit it hard.
Couldn't have placed it better if you had put it there with your hand. I mean, completely full, let go with one hand, and you just drop it in there.
And I think if you're at home, you watch Reyes, of course, he's going to score easy once he recognizes it's going to be a hit. Look at home and you say, how can a guy hit a ball a foot outside for a base hit? Well, the reason he can is because he has only thrown the ball from the middle of the plate away. So right-handed hitters are diving over the dish. Makes that foot away or 6 inches away a pitch they can hit. Look at that ball. It's a foot away, right?
Yep. It's called leaning.
Here's Lucas Duda, and he gets tied up. 0-1. Duda has taken a call, 3rd strike, and single to right, 1 for 2. Mets now with 4 runs and 7 hits. They were down 3-0, but they tied it with 3 in the 4th, and now they've gone in front here in the 5th. And the Cubs have some stirring in their bullpen.
Well, we're going to show the contact again off the end of the bat. And it's good. What, foot outside?
Well, look at Soto's glove. That'll tell you where it is.
It's well into the left-hand hitter's batter's box. Good changeup by Coleman. That's been his best pitch tonight. 1-2.
Wait out Coleman. He can't throw strikes on a consistent basis.
The veteran right-hander Ramon Ortiz is up in the bullpen. Boy, they've got some retreads on this team. Strike 3 called. Duda down looking. Second time he's been caught tonight. 5 strikeouts now for Casey Coleman.
Well, kind of freezes in here. I didn't think it moved that much. That started out inside corner and actually bled out over plenty of plate.
Well, soft away, Keith, the entire at bat, and then popped him inside.
So 2 out. Turner's still at second, and now David Wright, who drove in a run with a fielder's choice his last time up. Well, we made an attempt to chart David Wright's batting average this year. I think we're going to pull it off now. And you see, he was on the disabled list for better than 2 months. Started out very hot, but then once he hurt his back, his average plummeted. And it wasn't until he came back off the DL that it started to rise. Castro eats it in the hole, can't throw out right, but at least saved a run, keeping Turner at third. So it's an infield hit for David Wright. Thought for sure he was going to hold that ball.
Yeah. Well, that's a young man's mistake right there. He had no chance to throw out right. Just eat it. Save the run. Nice play by him. It's a long hop for Pena, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, risking a bad throw and then Turner scoring after all.
But it shows you the 2 things about Castro's game, doesn't it? That he can get the balls most shortstops can't, but that's the reason he has 26 errors, because he didn't put in his pocket.
Mark Riggins will pay another visit to the mound and talk to Coleman. Well, the Cubs, you talk about Castro's error. They've committed 119 errors this year. That's the most in the National League. Unfortunately for the Mets, they're starting to catch up. The Mets are now have the 2nd most errors in the National League, and that was not always the case.
They've made a lot of errors in that last road trip, Gary.
15 errors now in the last 15 games, and 7 in the last 4 games for the Mets. So now Turner at third, Wright at first. Mets have taken a 4-3 lead here in the 5th. And now Angel Pagan will try and add to it. Angel singled and scored a run in the 4th, 1 for 2. And he grounds one right to the back to Pena to retire the side. But Justin Turner drives home Reyes as they put together back-to-back doubles, and the Mets take the lead in the 5th inning. Brought to you by Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles with the best-selling values in America. elsewhere. We go to the 6th inning. Mets up 4-3. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt.
And we're back with another former Met. John Olerud is here, guys. And, John, with some of the great guys, some of your former teammates here with the Alumni Association, I understand that you and some of the guys went down to a New York City firehouse today, again, in remembrance of 9/11. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was great. Neat experience. I think for myself, I wasn't here when the 9/11 attacks happened. And so it just almost seemed like something out of the movies, like it wasn't real. And so being there, around those guys, and it really makes it real. And you just get a whole new respect for the type of job that they do, and putting their lives on the line for other people. It's just a great thing that they do.
John, we've been talking a lot about Jose Reyes and his pursuit of the Mets' first ever batting title. You obviously had a great year at 354, and we're in that conversation. But before you were a Met, you took a 400 batting average into August with the Blue Jays. What is the pressure like? Do you start thinking about that type of thing? And tell me what that pursuit is like, going through that and coming to the year end.
Yeah, well, 93 for me was just such a magical year. I mean, it was perfect. Everything went right for me. I hit the ball hard. It went in for a hit. I hit the ball bad. It went in for a hit. So just everything went right for me. There really wasn't a whole lot of pressure I didn't feel, because it was my first year that I really was able to hit over 300. I hadn't had a year that I hit over 300, so I was having a great year. Everything was going my way, so it was actually a lot of fun to be in a groove like that.
It didn't sound like you really thought about it much at all. How about when people bring it up to you? I mean, Reyes has said the same thing. He said he's not thinking about it, but we're trying to decide whether to believe him or not.
Yeah, it was my first time having a great year. I felt real good at the plate, and I felt like, every time I went up there, I was going to hit the ball hard somewhere. So a lot of confidence. My swing was right. My timing was right on, and the team was doing real well. So you really just concentrated on going up there and getting some good swings, and it made it easier.
What did you enjoy most about your experience here as Pena goes down on strikes? A little revenge for Mike Pelfrey after the home run earlier. I remember you were a guy that took the subway here to the ballpark to Shea. And tell me what you enjoyed most about being a Met in your time in New York.
It was a great experience. I know that when I got traded here, I was nervous about coming to New York, because coming here with the Blue Jays, I was always nervous being in the city. It was a very intimidating place, and so I was nervous about it. And I had such a great experience that just a great memory of being able to play here.
The guys were talking with Robin Ventura about it earlier. As this one hit deep, but Pagan will have a beat on it, make the play, 2 outs. About that infield, that 99 cover of Sports Illustrated, best infield ever. I mean, it was unbelievable. What made you guys so good, do you think? Well,
it was great infield. I mean, with Ray and Robin over there, Edgardo Alfonso, he gets overlooked a lot. He had an unbelievable year too. But I think, Ray and Robin, they made so many great plays over there, and I sort of judge it over at first base. You kind of get a feel for whether it's going to be a close play or not. And there were a number of times where I was getting ready to come off the base and tell them, you don't got him, no chance of getting this, and they'd still, you make the throw, and we'd get them by a couple of steps. So there was a few times there where you're surprised by a play that you think probably doesn't make sense to make the play, and we get them. So it was a lot of fun to be a part of that infield.
Here's one to Reyes, and Reyes will finish off the Cubs here in the 6th inning. John, it's great catching up. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you.
John Olerud joining us. Mets have the 4-3 lead over the Cubs. We'll be back from Citi Field.
game with the Cubs tomorrow, then the Sunday night game on ESPN. We're back with you on Monday with 4 games against the Nationals, 3 night games and a day game. Then the Mets go to their final road trip of the year to Atlanta and St. Louis, and then come home to play the Phillies and the Reds. And after that, 2011 is memory, at least the baseball part of it. Andrew Kashner will take over the pitching for the Cubs in the bottom of the 6th.
Well, he was the 19th pick in the first round in 2008. And with all the remembrance happening this weekend, kind of a strange day on Sunday for Kashner. He'll be 25 years old on Sunday.
Jason Bay leads off in the home 6th inning. Bay with a pair of doubles tonight. First game he's had 2 extra base hits since July the 28th. But the 6th time in his last 7 games he's had an extra base hit. So things starting to heat up for Bay as this season winds toward a close. And he pops this one up, shallow right field. LaHair coming toward that short fence, sliding, but it goes out of play. Monday on the premiere of Anderson, the parents of Amy Winehouse speak for the first time about the heartbreaking death of their daughter. Watch Anderson premiering Monday at 4 on Pix 11. Andrew Kashner working in relief of Casey Coleman. Kashner is a guy that the Cubs envision as a starting pitcher. He's a #1 draft pick, power arm, but they're just going to use him out of the bullpen for the remainder of the season.
Well, you've seen this happen with some organizations, Gary. They'll use their star pitchers in the minors to come up and I guess get their feet wet by getting a few outs here and there.
Nick Evans waiting on deck. Kashner has been out most of the year with a shoulder injury, and so they're being fairly protective of him. Went down with a right rotator cuff sprain after beginning the year with the Cubs and making 1 start. Left in the 6th inning and didn't come back till this week.
Well, he not only throws hard, but he's got a lot of movement too.
And he's got a power pitcher's body.
He does.
He's got that. Looks like that Kerry Wood body.
Yeah, tall, thick, strong legs.
6'6", 210 pounds. Out of TCU. Bay pounds one into the ground. Well, the Cubs, like the Mets, have a need for pitching. Cubs are second to last in the National League in staff ERA. They've issued the most walks of any staff in the league. And so their pitching needs a solid revamp. Pulled down to third. This time Ramirez able to play it. And the throw is terrible and goes into the dugout, and Bay will go to second base and stop there. Well, Aramis Ramirez finally able to get in front of one of those balls that Bay pulled, but made as bad a throw as you can make. A 2-base error.
Well, nice play on getting the long hop. There's the tap of the glove. And, Bay beats the play. That could arguably be a base hit and an error. But no sense of urgency to throw out a runner. I've seen it too much from Aramis.
Well, the Cubs make their 120th error of the year, the most in the league. And the Mets will try and take advantage with Nick Evans at the plate.
Robin Ventura told us earlier, do you want to style or do you want to make the play? And, you're a veteran player. You're playing against a guy you've played against a lot. He played with Bay. You know that Bay hustles everything down the line. And you come up and you lollygag.
Not only did Bay run hard to first, he was sprinting to second before he realized that ball had gone out of play. It's just, it's so, as Evans goes down swinging for the first out, it's so heartwarming to watch a guy who has struggled so badly all year just play his heart out every day. Because if you do that, eventually good things are going to happen.
Well, you're making a good point, and the point is because he has struggled, we haven't seen all these fine qualities that you can see from Bae, what he brings to the table when he puts the ball in play.
I would put a little vote in for a change in the scoring there. He had that throw beat.
Tolley foul tips one.
Do we have that power to get him a hit?
We can lobby.
Okay.
He always runs hard.
And then watch when he makes the turn. Look at this. I mean, there's just no let up.
He's a hustler.
Nothing and 2 to Tolley, who's grounded out to short twice in this game. Mike Pelfrey is out on deck. Now Cashner ahead 0-2 on Tolley. A straight change or a split that he's throwing?
I don't know. The ball had a lot of movement down, so I'm thinking that maybe it's a split. Which would be a good pitch for a guy with that kind of movement on his fastball.
To shortstop, Bae will have to hold as Castro one-hands it, and that's the second out. And maybe another reason Castro has 26 errors.
Well, you see his footwork there. He wanted to play the back hop, and he realized the long hop, and then he realized his mistake, and he just came in real quick. He wants to back up. It goes, oops, I better come in and get it. So those are a ground ball like that. You shouldn't make a wrong decision. You know, you should be able to either come in and get a short hop, or you can play it back for the long. But not everybody's a Robin Ventura with the glove, you know.
That's right.
Or a Ray Ordonez. Or a Jose Reyes.
Or John Olerud.
Well, we're talking about a real offensive star that's learning the position here in the big leagues at 21 years old. So you can see that he has skills.
By the way, we've invoked that 99 Mets infield defense a few times. You know what the most incredible number about that team was? The entire season, 162 games, 20 unearned runs. As Pelfrey lines out to end the inning. 20 for the whole season. Cashner works around the leadoff error. Mets lead 4-3. Can help you write it. The old Apple standing guard outside. The new Apple in its housing out in center field, just waiting to rise. And of course, the ribbon that went up at Shea Stadium on the skyline in the days following 9/11. That, Robin was talking about the bagpipes evoking tears. That ribbon was as perfect a touch as you could have had. Brian LaHare leads off in the 7th inning against Mike Pelfrey, who's retired 8 in a row. LaHare had his first big league triple in the 4th inning and drove in a run, and was thrown out at the plate by Jason Bay. Brian LaHare grew up in your neck of the woods, Ronnie, in Worcester, Mass.
Really?
Went to Holy Name Central Catholic in Worcester. And when he was in high school at Holy Name Central Catholic, he was a basketball player, and his coach for basketball was J.P. Ricciardi.
Now I know where you're going.
Now special assistant to the general manager with the Mets. And J.P. said that LaHare, had he wanted to, could have played college basketball, but LaHare was more interested in baseball.
Oh.
So there you go. LaHare has his Mets connection.
It's always nice to have another guy in the ballpark with the accent. Very good.
Well, you and JP, between the two of you, when you talk to JP, you lapse into a little bit of Massachusetts.
I can go there.
Yeah.
I can go there in a heartbeat.
See, I didn't know that JP had been a basketball coach. That surprised me.
Well, JP went to St. Peter's, which was the rival high school of my high school, St. John. So that's interesting that he wasn't the basketball coach at St. Peter's, but at Holy Name. It's kind of like a triad there of Catholic schools in the Worcester area.
So Jeff Samardzija up in the bullpen for Chicago, with the pitcher due up 3rd in the inning. Well, meanwhile, Mike Pelfrey, who did not look as though he was going to last very long when he walked a couple and loaded the bases in the 1st inning, gave up a long home run to Pena in the 3rd. Here pitching in the 7th with the lead. And that's high ball 4, and LaHare is on with a walk. And Terry Collins was asked about Pelfrey today, and he said, look, this guy is a horse. He goes out there, and I know he hasn't had the year that he wants to, but he gives you innings every time out. And here he is. He's getting close to 180 innings for the year. He's going to have, 3 more starts after this? He's going to get close to 200 innings again. LaHare will leave for a pinch runner. That is Tony Campana, who runs as fast as anybody in the National League.
What's he been thrown out once this season?
20 tries.
Wow.
And with the problems that Pelfrey has had with controlling base runners, here you got Campana as the tying run. You have to be certain he's going to be going.
Well, his first base coach that we just saw in that shot, Bobby Denier, he could run in his day, right, Keith?
Started out with the Phillies, Bob Denier. Went over to the Cubs at 84 team.
He could run in center field.
All I remember from Bob Denier, he was leadoff for that Cub team, is that it seemed like every game, and certainly it wasn't, he would hit a ground ball down the 3rd baseline for a double. It seemed like every time he led off the game.
So let's see how Pelfrey contends with Campana. Blake DeWitt has come out on deck to pinch hit. DeWitt, who's been suffering with a hamstring injury, good to go as a pinch hitter. And Soto takes it high, ball 1. So Pelfrey going slide step there.
Well, sometimes, Gary, when you're out there pitching, not only do you know the situation, you see the stolen bases allowed, but you also know where you are in the lineup. And a slide step in the bottom of the lineup can sometimes be more rewarding than going against Pena or Ramirez.
And yet Soto is a guy who can take you deep.
That's right.
You see Campana's stolen base numbers.
Pelp got rid of that ball and almost fell over there, trying to be so quick to first base.
Close. Joe West said he got back.
Well, that's one of the things that I think that Mike has really improved, hasn't he? That move to first base, gets his hands together, separates, and that quick, accurate throw.
Left-hand thrower, he's out.
Yeah. I've heard that one before. Big lead.
And Pelfrey gets a letter high strike, 1-1. Would you pitch out here?
We've seen more pitch outs in the second half from Terry Collins, haven't we? I just don't want to get Soto in a 2-1 situation if you're wrong. Then you got to come to him with a fastball. He's a good fastball hitter.
Pelfrey up over 100 pitches for the night. He's thrown as many as 125 in a game this year. And the slide step, and he comes with a slider, and it's 1-2.
Good slide. That's the best one he's thrown tonight.
So now he's ahead in the count, and Campana still hasn't moved off first base.
Well, Mike's doing a great job of holding Campana close. The one thing he's got to remember, though, sometimes these innings can get away from him when he's spending so much time concentrating on other things other than the batter. But an outstanding job so far, keeping him close.
And he just missed with that breaking ball. 2-2.
Interesting how Joe West, the umpire, kind of walks into that play at first base. Stands very close, watch the throw over, and usually takes a step into the play. Get a little closer.
2-2. Campana runs, and Soto fouls it off. So Campana on the move for the first time during this at bat. Tim Burdock, the left-hander, Josh Stinson, the right-hander, up in the Mets bullpen as Pelfrey works in the seventh. Stinson comes in. It'll be his home debut. He was awfully good on that road trip.
This is where Mike's had a lot of throws over, very quick. He could quick pitch, keep Campana there.
Any ball that hits the dirt today, Ronnie, they throw it out, don't they?
What a waste of time.
Tolley not proficient in throwing out runners, just 16% this year. Of course, Pelfrey's had something to do with that. Boy, Campana spends a lot of time on his belly.
He does. Now Pelfrey's thrown over there twice, very quickly. Now come set and go home. Quick pitch him. There's no way he'll get a jump.
He's going. It's popped up, and now Campana has to reverse directions as Turner comes over to grab it. One away.
Very impressive, Ron, from Pelf there. The fact that he threw over, around 6, 7, 8 times and didn't make a bad pitch. Was able, when he went home, he stayed focused on the target.
Now Blake DeWitt will be the pinch hitter. DeWitt has been sitting out with a hamstring the last few days, has been the primary pinch hitter for the Cubs this year. 56 pinch hit at bats with 12 hits. The 56 at bats is a pinch hitter, second to Ross Glode in the major leagues. Glode has 71 at bats for the Phillies as a pinch hitter.
Key matchup here for Pelf. DeWitt 3 for 5 off Pelfrey. I know it's only a small sample.
DeWitt, who came up with the Dodgers, now a part-time player in Chicago. And Campana still a threat to be going. Starlin Castro on deck. 4-3 New York, 7th inning. And DeWitt grounds one toward the hole, and it hits Campana. He's out. DeWitt gets a base hit, but Campana hit by the batted ball for the second out. And that's a break for the Mets because that ball was headed toward the hole.
That is first and third written all over it. Got a freeze there, don't you, Keith? Let the ball pass.
Maybe he thought he was faster than the ball.
He could have frozen and still went first to third.
Oh, I think Turner covers it.
Yeah?
I think Turner gets to the ball. But still, he's got to get out of the way. Oh, well. How's that scored, Gary?
It's a single.
And
then 4 unassisted on the putout because Turner was closest.
Thank you.
Kind of like in hockey when defenseman puts it in the net.
That's
it's the
right.
guy closest to the puck who gets credit. So now 2 out. DeWitt at first, not nearly the speed of Campana. And now Castro takes a strike. Castro 1 for 3 tonight. David Wright made a nice play and threw him out his last time up. Darwin Barney would be next. So Pelfrey did a terrific job holding Campana. Got Soto to pop up, and then Campana running into DeWitt's ground ball. And Castro reaching and fouling it off, and it's 0-2. All 21 years old and with amazing talent. Hosmer's burst on the scene with the Royals. We've seen plenty of Stanton and Freeman. And Castro in his second season having himself a fine offensive year. Hosmer's going to be a big star. I'll tell you what, they got some great talent on that team. Third baseman was Stakas.
Yep.
And they re-signed Frank Core, didn't
they? Did. Two-year deal.
I'm happy for French. He's having a great year for them.
Hitting around 280, I think 76, 77 RBI.
And that team, led by Frank Core and Melky Cabrera, leads the major leagues in outfield assists. And they've got more young talent coming from the minor leagues. And in that division, which is pretty wide open, will be pretty good in a couple of years. Inside, and Castro is drilled. And that hurts.
Well, you can make your case for all the core exercises with that hit by pitch.
Looked like you got him right in the belt buckle.
Well, the Mets have hit more batters than any team in the major leagues. And there's another one.
64 now, Gary.
No other team has hit more than 49 batters, so the Mets have a huge lead in that category. Pelfrey is done for the night. Josh Stinson coming on. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Metro PCS. Get the Huawei M835 Android smartphone for just $29. Mike Pelfrey out after 6 2/3 with a 4-3 lead. Leaves 2 runners on base for Josh Stinson, who makes his 5th big league appearance. He's been terrific so far. Darwin Barney up. He's a very tough 0 for 3, and he takes a strike.
Well, what I've seen so far, and you saw him on the road trip, is that doesn't throw many balls over the knees. He has the ability to throw that slider for a strike to start off a hitter, and he also behind in the count.
Doesn't waste much time. Comes after hitters. Slider off the plate, and it's 1-1. And a pinch runner for the Cubs at second base. DJ LeMahieu is running for DeWitt, who's had the hamstring problem. Carrying the tying run. Castro at first with 2 out. 4-3 New York in the 7th. And Barney swinging and missing. 1-2.
Well, the instructions from Terry Collins to Stinson: spin the ball to Barney.
111 pitches for Pelfrey. A chance to be a winner if Stinson can get out of this jam. Chance to be a loser if he doesn't. 1-2 to Barney, and off the end of the bat. It's got to be quite a feeling for a pitcher sitting on the bench. You have a chance to be a winner, you have a chance to be a loser, and it's completely out of your hands.
Yeah, no, you feel awful. Why you feel awful, Gary, is that you leave the game with people on. You're putting one of your teammates in a rough spot. You never want to do that.
Ramos Ramirez would be next. Stinson had 1-2 on Barney. Fastball fouled away.
It was one of the few pitches from Stinson that he overthrew, and the ball was up in the strike zone.
Well, Stinson was a starting pitcher earlier this year in Buffalo and really struggled. I mean, his ERA was over 7, and then they sent him down to Binghamton, put him in the bullpen, and everything has gone much better since. 1-2, and the slider low and away. 2-2 to Barney.
You know, you saw that grip right there. If the fingers are separated, that'll be his 4-seam fastball. If the fingers are together, that's always a breaking pitch.
Seventh pitch on the way to Barney, and he fouls off that slider. So he's thrown him only 1 fastball during this at bat.
I think he is under direct orders, as is Tolley, to not get beat with a fastball here to Barney.
LeMahieu, the pinch runner at second. Castro at first with 2 out. Lifted to right, and Duda is there. And so Stinson comes on, gets the big out for Pelfrey, and keeps the Mets in the lead. 7th inning stretch, 4-3 New York. time to take a Dunkin' Donuts coffee break. Remember to get dunked. Go to getdunked.com.
The kids are here.
There's some lucky young fans up in the front row. Jeff Samardzija will come on to pitch for the Cubs in the bottom of the 7th.
Oh, 5th round pick in 2006, only 26 years old, from Notre Dame.
He has really turned the corner these last few months after struggling big time the last 2 years. Jose Reyes fouls off the first pitch from Samardzija. Reyes hit a fly ball double and scored the go-ahead run in the 5th inning, 1 for 3 on the night. So his batting average has stayed the same at .335. Meanwhile, Ryan Braun is facing Roy Halladay in Milwaukee tonight as Reyes slashes one foul. Braun is 2 for 2 off Halladay.
Wow.
Phillies got 3 runs in the first inning off Sean Markham in that game. Halladay's given up only 3 hits, but 2 of them to Braun. So he is staying right on Reyes' heels. And he goes down swinging on a high fastball. Reyes chasing a pitch he has not chased much this year. 1 out.
Well, not a good bat for Jose. But a poor swing on the 2nd strike, and there he just chased a bad one. He knows it. He said, I'm going to go back to the drawing board on that one. Forget about that one. Get him next time.
Yeah. So 1 out. Here's Justin Turner, who's had a good night with the bat. A single and a double. He's driven in a run. He's scored a run. 10-game hitting streak now for Turner. Samardzija, the former Notre Dame football star, who opted for a career in baseball.
Well, he wants to get to the point where we talk about his baseball exploits more than his football exploits.
Well, you know, it took Kirk Gibson a little while, too.
That's right.
When he came out of college with his football pedigree at Michigan State.
I think the hardest thing, having that football mentality and being a pitcher, is trying to tone it down, Gary. You know, at some point, a guy who can throw 97, 98 miles an hour, you feel like that's all you want to do when you're in trouble. It's like, you know what, if you're in trouble, tackle someone harder. Run a little faster.
Straightaway center, and Bird is there. 2 out. By the way, Tony Campana stayed in the game in right field for the Cubs.
Turner's made some tough outs in the last week or so. Lots of line drives.
So Duda bats with 2 out and nobody on. Duda 1 for 3. Twice was caught looking by Casey Coleman, but also had a base hit to right field. Coleman went 5 innings, allowed 4 runs, 8 hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Andrew Kashner, a hitless inning. Good slider by Samardzija. He's got the goods, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Got some serious locks, too.
I'll say between he and the Mets Herrera, that's a little bit like mid-80s right there.
Well, we talk about how the game is reverting in some fashions toward a more familiar game.
Don't go there. Those
so maybe the hair's coming back too.
Got hair like Bronson Arroyo.
I had some pictures in the World Series of myself, and I'm just aghast every time I see him.
Could be worse.
You have long hair?
They had longish hair, you know.
Could be worse. You could have pitched in the 70s.
That's right.
Pulled him right into the glove of Pena. Side retired. So a couple of line drives in the inning, but Samardzija gets the Mets 1-2-3. Now to the 8th in the big city. Mets with a 4-3 lead. But the final out of the 7th stays on for the 8th to face the heart of the Cubs batting order. Ramos Ramirez, Carlos Pena, Alfonso Soriano, each with 24 or more home runs. So a challenging inning for Stinson. Ramirez 1 for 2, a double. He lined out to right his last time up, and he grounds one sharply, and a short hop for David Wright. 1 pitch, 1 out for Stinson in the 8th. So Ramirez retired, and that's going to be it for Stinson, with the left-hand hitter Pena coming up. Terry Collins heads out to the mound, and he'll bring Tim Burdack into the game. So Stinson faced 2 batters, retired them both. That's 5 appearances for Stinson, and he still is unscored upon. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Metro PCS. Get the Huawei M835 Android smartphone for just $29. Veteran lefty Tim Burdack comes in to face Carlos Pena.
Tim got 2 outs in game 1 of that doubleheader yesterday against the Atlanta Braves. He's done a nice job. Even after about April, mid-May, he started turning it on.
So here is Pena, who hit a monstrous home run into the seats in center field back in the 3rd. That was the first scoring in the game, a 2-run shot, his 27th. He's also walked and struck out tonight, 1 for 2.
And as we mentioned earlier in the game, Pena is a 143 batter against left-handers, but 7 home runs. He's a threat. He's all or nothing.
And the problem you have with Pena is he can take you out to left field also, has that kind of power.
0 for 4 in his career against Burdack. And the slider misses for ball 1.
Well, this is back in the 3rd right here, and a fastball that stayed straight right down the middle, and that's dead central, and that's way out.
First home run Mike Pelfrey had allowed in 46 innings. And Pena pops this one up. Should be playable for Evans. And that is a high foul second out. So Pena retired. Now what do you do with Soriano? Well, if you're Terry Collins, you make another move to the bullpen. So Burdack throws 2 pitches, gets his man, and now Bobby Parnell will try and deal with Soriano. So we'll see what Parnell's role is here. Is it to get a 4-out save or just to get the 1? We'll know in a few moments. 4-3 New York in the 8th. free score. Mets with a 4-3 lead as the Cubs bat in the 8th, 2 out and nobody on, and the Mets bring in Bobby Parnell to face Alfonso Soriano.
Well, Bobby in here to get a big out. Sometimes the save situation presents itself earlier here in the 8th inning, trying to get Soriano out.
Well, Terry has said that he might use other folks to get saves, but this could be a situation where Parnell's asked to get an out in the 8th and then stay on for the 9th. Soriano's 0 for 3, struck out and flied out twice. First pitch slider from Parnell. Ball 1 to Soriano. Soriano always a threat, 24 home runs this year. But it was Soriano's indifferent path to a pop fly by Jose Reyes that led to the Mets' go-ahead run in this game. Marlon Byrd would be next. It's been a troubled stretch for Bobby Parnell as the Mets try to introduce him to the closer's role. He's had some ups. More recently, he's had some downs.
Well, the frustration came so quickly, didn't it, from the coaching staff, that it lets you know that they were unhappy with the walks, unhappy with the execution of the game plan.
Well, he's coming here and immediately falling behind Soriano, 3-1. Tough man to walk. And he walks him. For Soriano, only his 23rd walk of the year, and now the tying run is on base. It brings up an interesting question, Ronnie, and I don't know if we even have the wherewithal to address it, but, you know, are closers born or are closers made?
Well, most closers I've been around, and I can only answer for the guys I've been around, they're adrenaline junkies. You know, they are born. They've liked the high wire act. They want to be out there. They want the glory, you know? I've been around a few, you know. Eckersley in his MVP year. You couldn't get anyone who relished the spotlight more than Dennis did. Danny Worthen's going to make a trip out there and try to get Parnell through this inning.
And how many times, Gary, do you see where you got a closer? I played with Bruce Sutter, Hall of Famer, and he loved to be in there with the game on the line. And how many times do you see a closer say hasn't had work in 4 days and it's a 5-run game and you got to get him in and give him some work and he gets killed?
That's right.
You know,
they need that.
It's not there, and they get hammered and they come back the next time and the game's on the line and 1, 2, 3. See you later.
So Manny Acosta up in the bullpen. Acosta has been the Mets' best reliever of late and may get the save chance tonight, as he did in Florida. 1-0 to Marlon Byrd with Soriano at first, and Byrd takes a strike.
You know, it's when you have a closer like that, and Ronnie and I have both played with them, and we had Jesse and Roger here, but with Eckersley that year and Suter the years I played with him, you know, it's nice to know going in the 9th inning and you're in trouble. And that was the day when they come in with men on base.
Yeah.
No, they didn't start an inning. They came in
the 7th sometimes.
Come in with the bases loaded, 1 out, or first and second, or second and third, and have to come in cold and get a guy out.
Now Parnell ahead on Byrd, 1-2, throwing him mostly sliders. Soriano not any threat to steal at this point in his career. There was a time when he was a 40-40 guy. Those days are long past. One-two to Byrd. Off the corner with a fastball, 2-2.
It's been interesting that Worthen came out and they've been going after him with sliders. Just showed him a fastball there. I said earlier in the show, I just think Marlon Byrd is an outstanding breaking ball hitter.
Incoming Chip.
Chip almost got surprised. Dangerous in there. So he moves up to the railing. Smart man.
Two count, Ronnie. Tight game like this. You ever feel the pressure? You don't want to go to 3-2 to throw a strike 2-2?
Yes. Don't go to 3-2. Got to make your pitch here.
And he throws the fastball, gets the grounder to short, and that ends the inning. So Parnell, after a bobble, gets the third out in the eighth to keep it 4-3 New York. Working with a 4-3 lead. Jeff Samardzija, who pitched a 1-2-3 seventh, helped out by a couple of line drive outs, will stay on for the eighth with David Wright set to lead off. Dave is 1 for 3 tonight. Drove in a run with a fielder's choice in the fourth. Had an infield single in the fifth. Pagan and May to follow in the bottom of the eighth. Mets 4 runs, 8 hits. The Cubs 3 runs and 6 hits. Day game tomorrow with Chris Capuano on the mound. So the Mets, who had a terrific road trip, came home yesterday, got beaten a double dip by the Braves, but trying to continue that pursuit of 500 with just 19 games to go, including tonight. 3 games under.
You'd hear at this point in the game and a lot of dugouts, wouldn't you, Keith? Play for one, let's get a couple. And what that means is that if Wright can get on somehow, you've got Pagan in an interesting position behind him that he can bunt and play for a run, play for an insurance run.
Always the insurance run's always key. You want to get that pitcher where you can give him a little breathing room in that bottom half of the inning.
Well, it looks like Manny Acosta is going to get the save chance. He's up in the bullpen for New York after Parnell got the last out in the eighth. And why not? I mean, Manny has earned it with his pitching over the last 6 weeks. Slider for a strike.
You're rewarding his emotion as well as his pitching, right?
Well, Terry Collins was talking earlier today about Acosta and saying, look, there are some guys who just take longer to develop. As Wright goes down on strikes. Second strikeout for Samardzija. And you know what Terry was saying was that, you know, Manny got sent down at the end of spring training, and sometimes it just takes that, whatever it is, kick in the butt or disappointment to get a guy to say, look, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure I'm not going down again.
And you can find out some guys go down and pout,
Yeah.
Other guys will say, we'll go down and say, hey, I've been in the big leagues. I want to get back and do what they have to do to get back.
Here's Pagan, who's 1 for 3. Because in a year where the Mets have struggled to find solid relief pitching, nobody's had a better stretch than what Acosta's done recently.
Hey, I was stunned that he didn't make the ball club. He pitched. He had a good spring. He was a veteran. And when he didn't make the team, that was a shocker to me.
Well, what characterized his year last year was that he pitched very well in low leverage situations, but he gave up a lot of key home runs in higher leverage situations. But this year, more responsibility recently has been put on his shoulders, and he's handled it very well. Pagan drives one to right center, and Campana's over there. 2 out. Video recap is brought to you by Time Warner Cable, Roadrunner Broadband. Jason Bay gunning down Brian LaHare at the plate, perhaps.
And that's the difference in the ballgame right now.
Remember, LaHare had a triple where it looked like he was out at third, and then was called out at the plate when it looked like he was safe. And Bay got credit for his 3rd outfield assist of the year. Meanwhile, Jason's had another big night at the plate. 2 for 3, a pair of doubles and an RBI. Nick Evans would be next.
You guys were talking about Acosta. Anyone who gets sent down comes into the manager's office and is given a list of things that they can work on to get back to the major leagues. And you talked about guys pouting, Keith. Obviously, Acosta worked on those things. But I also think for Acosta, and we've been around him, Gary, sometimes it takes a guy more time to develop when they have a more shy personality. Manny Acosta's a guy that's very, very quiet, very humble, doesn't say too much. So outwardly doesn't show that emotion that he's showing now. Maybe it's confidence.
And a little more of that is coming out, in the clubhouse as he's achieved some more success. Sometimes guys are afraid to speak up when they're not sure they belong. Three and 1 to Bay with 2 out and nobody on. And Jason gets under one, shallow left. Castro out calling and gives way to Soriano. Side retired. So 6 up and 6 down in relief for Samardzija. And now we go to the 9th with the Mets up 4-3. For Omar Infante for the Marlins at Pittsburgh tonight. Astros and Nats go to the 10th. Roy Halladay on the mound for the Phillies and cruising. He's allowed just 3 hits, and Braves up 2-1 in the 5th. as they try and douse any hope the Cardinals might have of coming back in that wild card race. And there are the rest of your scores. The Diamondbacks starting the night with a 7.5 game lead over the Giants, who play later. Weekday mornings, no matter what time you get up, your news, traffic, and weather will be waiting. Watch the Pix 11 morning news weekdays from 4 to 9 a.m. on Pix 11. So here is Manny Acosta, ready to bid for his second save of the season.
Got his save a couple days ago against Florida. Has 2 saves career for the Mets. One last year, and of course the one Gary just mentioned.
Tony Campana up for the first time, and you've got to look for the bunt from Campana. Came on as a pinch runner in the 7th, stayed in the game in right field.
And both corners in. David Wright really giving up that line at third base.
Boy, very interesting. Justin Turner at second base, creeping into about at least halfway.
Look at David over there. Jeez. Get a little, hug that line a little more. I don't care if he's a pull hitter.
Breaking ball fouled off. And now Acosta ahead 1-2. And Evans looks into the dugout and says, where do you want me to play now?
Back up. And guard the line. No doubles. Get deeper, Nick.
Giovanni Soto on deck, and then the pitcher's spot. So they keep him in, thinking Campana might bunt with 2 strikes. Instead, he uses an emergency hack to stay alive.
I think Nick needs to get pushed back. If they want him to stay there in, then when Acosta breaks from the belt, push back. There you go. They're moving him back. Thank goodness. Get back further.
Now the 1-2, and it's off the plate with the fastball. 2-2 to Campana.
So right now we can just focus on where Nick's playing. He can't cover a bunt if the guy bunts, if Campana bunts. So push back, cover ground.
Yeah.
And Campana goes down on the breaking ball, and Acosta has the first out of the ninth.
It's moot.
This is not moot.
Outstanding downer. That splitter he throws, right? He's got 3 good pitches. I think his breaking ball is his 3rd pitch. Throws very hard. I've always liked his arm.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Giovanni Soto, who's 0 for 3. And he takes a strike. Reed Johnson has come out on deck to be a pinch hitter. A ball and a strike to Soto. Coming up next on Pix, it's the Pix 11 News. Over on SNY, it's Lincoln Postgame Live. Now Acosta with the 1-1. 2 balls and a strike to Soto. There's Johnson on deck. Interesting, they have a left-hand bat on the bench in Tyler Colvin, but they have the right-hand hitter Johnson on deck to bat against Acosta.
Big rip.
Acosta left one up, but it was fouled back.
Boy, Keith, there's more breaking balls hit of the ballpark when a pitcher is just trying to get one over on a 2-1 count. Just missed by Soto. Fastball paint away.
Now the 2-2 off the corner and a full count.
Boy, Chad Fairchild, the home plate umpire, has he had a nice game or what? Strike zone has been so consistent for both teams.
So Acosta's gone full to the number 8 hitter Soto, who has 14 home runs this year. And that just misses ball 4.
Pretty good eye right there.
So now the tying run is on base.
Well, this is a breaking ball that starts out as a strike. Good eye. Close.
We'll get a pinch runner for Soto at first base. That's Lou Montañez.
September baseball.
And a pinch hitter, Reed Johnson, the veteran right-hand hitter, who's having a very good year for the Cubs in a part-time role.
He's a scrappy little player, Reed.
So 1 out and 1 on with Acosta trying to save this game for Mike Pelfrey, who went 6 2/3 tonight. And Johnson takes a strike. Starlin Castro, the leadoff hitter, waiting on deck. Johnson lines one to Turner. Quick throw back to first. Not in time. And the pinch runner Montañez gets back to keep the game going. So now there are 2 out.
Well, it sawed off here. Good base running by Montañez.
What's interesting there for Turner while he was laughing is that he thought he had a chance, but the ball just would never get to him.
So now the Cubs are down to their final out, and here's Starlin Castro, who led off the game with a base hit. Stole a base. Mike Pelfrey worked out of a bases loaded jam in the first. Fell behind 3-0. Mets rallied for him, and now they're 1 out away from sealing the deal, with Acosta pitching to Castro. And it's on the outside corner, a fastball, 0-1.
Good strike.
Darwin Barney would be next. Acosta facing the National League's leading hitmaker in Castro. Foul back. And now the Cubs are down to their final strike.
These are the true Met fans.
$27,639 tonight, hoping Acosta can seal the deal. Oh, 0-2 to Castro, but first a throw over to check in on Montañez. Wearing a Val Pascucci jersey. Oh, 2. Looped, shallow left. On comes Bay. Was playing deep. It'll drop for a hit. Well, you have to play no doubles in that situation, so Bay was backed up, and Castro able to dump one in front of him. And now the tying and go-ahead runs are on base.
Castro is such a good bad ball hitter. Out in front, breaks his bat, and gets lucky.
It's a curveball, breaking ball. Good pitch, and sawed him off, and just he got it towards the end of the bat. A little hanging up, Needed more down break. Would have had him.
For 51st multiple hit game for Castro. And now Darwin Barney gets a chance with 2 out and 2 on. Barney 0 for 4 tonight. Pagan made a nice running catch on him in the first. He had a bullet that Evans caught in the third. Another bullet that Bay caught in the fifth. And then Stinson came in and got him to fly out with 2 men on in the seventh. Ramirez would be next, but Acosta first has to deal with Barney, with Montañez the tying run at second and Castro at first with 2 down. 4-3 New York, 9th inning. Fastball low and away to Barney, 1-0.
You know, Barney's got an 0 for working so far today, but he's had some good at bats.
He's in a 3 for 42 hole right now.
Up the middle, base hit. Montañez around third, heads home. Pagan hesitates, then throws offline, and the Cubs have tied the game. Darwin Barney with a 2-out RBI hit, and the game is even at 4. So Acosta unable to seal the deal. After the broken bat hit by Castro, Barney follows with a hit up the middle to get the Cubs even.
Well, he was mired in a deep slump. Fastball away, kind of bled back over the middle. Pagan gives it everything he has right here, but the pinch runner Montañez, too much speed.
Darwin Barney's 40th run batted in. Now Aramis Ramirez with the lead run at second, and he takes the slider off the plate. Ramirez 1 for 3 on the day, a double back in the third. So Acosta, who got the save on Thursday, blows the save here in the 9th inning today. In the air to right field, Duda moves over, he's there, and that ends the inning. But the Cubs get even on Darwin Barney's 2-out RBI single. Now the Mets will try and win it in the bottom of the 9th. With Evans set to lead off, it's 4-4.
Well, here's Pagan on the throw, and he had a tough time, a little bit of a juggle on the exchange. And that could have been the difference right there, although I don't think it would have made a difference.
You know, when he went to the exchange there, his hand, 3 of his fingers got caught on the other side of the glove, not in the pocket.
Manny Acosta, who's been showing emotion on the mound, showing a little in the dugout too, after letting that save opportunity get away. It was the walk to Soto that did him in ultimately. Soto left for a pinch runner, so Coy Hill comes in to catch. And Sean Marshall will pitch the last of the 9th inning.
The guy that early in his career with the Cubs, they were trying to make into a starter, but he's found a way as a reliever. 80 games last year, 69 this year.
Nick Evans leads off the last of the 9th in a 4-4 game and takes a curveball for a strike. Evans 0 for 3, drove in a run with a ground out in the 4th. He's just 1 for his last 14. Each team now with 4 runs and 8 hits. Chasing the fastball away, and it's 0-2. Ramos Ramirez at third is almost standing on the third base line. I mean, talk about playing the line. Can't play it any closer than that.
It's the different philosophies between these two managers, right?
You got the other side of the infield. You've got Pena off the line, big time.
Line base hit for Evans. So Nick has his first hit of the day, and the Mets are in business in the bottom of the ninth.
Well, Nick continues to hit, and he stayed in on that ball away upstairs.
Evans will leave for a pinch runner. Jason Pridey comes in to run for him, carrying the potential winning run. Now Josh Thole up, and we'll see if the Mets have him bunt. Ruben Tejada has come out on deck to bat for the pitcher. Tole's 0 for 3, 3 ground balls to short. That would lead you to believe he's going to bunt. And he does. And Marshall will have to go to first with it. He almost goosed that throw. Threw that off the palm of his hand, it looked like. But got it over there in time as Pridey moves to second. So Thole gets the job done, and now Ruben Tejada has a chance to get the winning run in from second.
Well, what happened here again? Problem with the transfer to it right, and spiked it right into the ground, but nice play by Barney. Doesn't get a grip, throws kind of a changeup over there.
So now Tejada. Ruben was 0 for 8 in the doubleheader yesterday. And over the last few days, his swing has gotten a little long. But now, coming off the bench, knowing that a base hit can win the game.
Well, he took about a half hour of extra batting today before the game with Tejada.
So Igarashi up in the bullpen for the Mets, getting ready in case there's a 10th inning. Mark Riggins will go to the mound for a conversation. You got Tejada at the plate, Reyes on deck with 1 out, so unquestionably they're going after Tejada here.
I just honestly don't understand all these trips. I mean, before the game, you must go over the Mets hitters, including the guys that are coming off the bench. Marshall's a veteran. He's been around.
Well, the Cubs have John Gobb and Kerry Wood available. Of course, Marmol's their closer. But no one's up in the bullpen. So
the left-hander is yet to make his major league debut, so it'll be a tough spot for him.
Yep. So they're going to stick with Marshall here.
Well, Marshall's had a good year. Facing Tejada here, who has had 1 at bat as a pinch hitter this year, 0 for 1. So Ruben gets the call here to try and get Pridey home from second with a winning run. And Ruben watches the breaking ball down for ball 1. Mets have had 4 walk-off wins this year. The last one came a month and a day ago on Lucas Duda's RBI hit against the Padres.
Well, sorry, Keith. One of the things with the outfield, it's so shallow with Tejada up.
Really playing the pull on the infield, Ronnie.
And Ruben pokes one to second, caught by Barney. And Pridey steps back to the bag. So that's the second out. And now Reyes will come up, and I doubt they'll pitch to him.
Need a little more elevation.
So you got Reyes up, first base open, Turner on deck. And they're going to throw him 4 wide ones. And we wouldn't do anything else. Turner, who has been the Mets' best with runners in scoring position all year, will get a chance to get the winning run home. Reyes is 1 for 4 on the night. His average is held steady at .335. Ryan Braun is 2 for 3 tonight, facing Roy Halladay in Milwaukee. Phillies are up 4-0 in the 7th in that game. So here's Turner, 2 for 4 tonight, lined out to center field his last time up. He's already driven in a run today. Turner started the night hitting .352 with runners in scoring position, and he's already got one tonight. Friday carrying the winning run at second. Reyes at first with 2 out. 4-4 bottom of the ninth.
And they're giving that nice hole that Turner likes to poke through the right side of the infield.
Although Pena playing off the line to try and cut that down a little bit. Now Marshall deals to Turner. And it's taken low for ball 1. Well, Turner has been fantastic, including his hit tonight. 359 with runners in scoring position. Doesn't have quite enough plate appearances heading into today to appear among the league leaders, but if he did, he'd be third in the league. In the air to center field, chasing Bird back, way back. Bird is not going to get there, and the Mets win it. Friday scores on Turner's walk-off hit, and the Mets win it 5-4. Now they walked Reyes to get to Turner, and Turner with a 400-foot single to win the game.
Well, we talked about that outfield defense playing Tejada shallow. They didn't back up much after walking Reyes for Justin Turner, and he made them pay, hitting that ball over the head of Marlon Byrd. Big win for the Mets after dropping 2 yesterday.
And as Gary said, Turner continues to hit with men in scoring position. That's a good one for him right there. That ball bounced on the track, so he hit that ball well, but the Cubs got caught playing a shallow outfield. And here it is. It's a curveball hanging right down the middle. And Friday can walk home. That's a ground rule double.
Although they scored a single because Turner never got to second base. Nonetheless, the Mets with their 5th walk-off victory of the year. And Acosta, who blew the save, winds up with a win. And then Justin Turner takes a pummeling. So the Mets coming into the clubhouse after their 11th win in their last 16 games to get them within 2 games of 500 as they bounce back from yesterday's doubleheader loss to the Braves. There's your game summary. Acosta blows the save, gets the win. Marshall takes the loss. Bay with another good game, but it's Turner with the walk-off hit after they walked Reyes in front of him. And Justin Turner gives the Mets a 5-4 victory. Subway presents today's Winners Box Score. Subway, where winners eat. And there is the box score. Turner with 3 hits on the day, 2 RBIs. Reyes 1 for 4 as he continues his quest for the batting title. And another big day for Jason Bay with 2 more extra base hits. Kevin Burkhardt is standing by with tonight's hero.
Right here. Well, Justin, off the bat, what did you think? Did you think that was going to get over the center fielder's head there?
I had no idea. You know, I hit it pretty good. I was looking for something off speed up in the zone and got pretty good wood on it. And lucky enough, they were playing in kind of shallow to give themselves a chance to throw them out of the plate. So,
what is that feeling like when you see it go over the head and you see it land and you know you won the game?
It's awesome. Can't describe it.
Yeah. The funny thing is, you called it. I mean, you knew it was coming, but yet. You knew it was coming, but you just kind of stood there and took it. I guess that's part of the fun, huh?
Yeah, you know, Willie likes to have a good time. I know it was him in there, so.
That ain't good?
I don't know. You tell me. You got it.
It's pretty good. Hey, why have you done? You've just been terrific with runners in scoring position. Is it a mindset? Is it a different approach? Tell me about you at the plate in those situations.
You know, when you got a guy in scoring position, you just try to lock it in and get a good pitch up in the zone and not try to do too much. And got a curveball up and put a pretty good swing on it.
The MO of this team all year has been to play hard. Do you appreciate continuing to do that in September, continuing to get support of these fans out here?
Yeah, you know, we got down 3 runs early, and Pelf really dug in and kept it there for us, and we got the lead back and ended up winning in the 9th. So he did an outstanding job battling for us.
Enjoy the whipped cream. Congrats on the win, Justin.
Thank you.
Guys, back to you.
Turner's 2nd walk-off RBI of the year, and less painful than the first one when he was hit by a pitch with the bases loaded to win a game against Oakland. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Toyota. Toyota is the #1 retail brand in America. Reassurance, only better. By Wendy's, try Wendy's new flavor-dipped chicken sandwiches at participating Wendy's. By Ford, check out the best-selling vehicles with the best values in America. Drive one at your Tri-State Ford dealers today. By Citi, what's your story? Citibank can help you write it. By Delta, keep climbing. And by MJHS, a pioneering integrated health system since 1907, caring every minute, every day. Mets win in walk-off fashion, 5-4 over the Cubs to get back to within 2 games of 500. We'll be back with you tomorrow on Pix 11 for the second game of this series with Chris Capuano against Randy Wells starting at 1 o'clock. Coming up next, it's the Pix 11 News. Mets win at 5-4 on Justin Turner's heroics. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and an entire crew, I'm Gary Cohen. We'll see you right back out there tomorrow afternoon here on Pix 11.